This is the D6 generation with your hosts, Craig Gallant.
Wrong! If you're getting any compensation, it's not charity!
Russ Wakeland. You put me on a boat with frickin' dragons attacking me and whatnot? Now we're talking. And Rafe, Hollywood Granger.
Now that's Jimmy Django right there.
With contributions from Total Fangirl.
Vampires do not sparkle.
And our loyal listeners.
One game is very like another till the D6G reviews it, brother.
Welcome to another edition of Rapid Fire, the roundtable discussion of all things gaming, coming at you with the speed of Vampire Strahd, ironically flying in bat form out of the past and into the present with a Viking helmet on. Today's edition is brought to you by The Tabletop Fix. We are never wrong, because we don't care about telling you how to play your games or our opinion on stuff. We just bring you the hottest news in wargaming. You don't want to read endless articles? Good, because you'll just get the picture and the link to follow if you want to learn more. Visit www.ttfix.blogspot.com and become a follower today. I'm Geekly McNerdigan, your host. Today, as always, our panelists are Russ Rudolph von Richten Wakeland and Rafe the Bloody Gobbler Granger. And as a special guest, we have Kevin Koss the Bloody-Handed Clark, events manager for the Warstore. Woo. Let's begin. Issue number 1. The term Viking, from Old Norse Vikingr, is customarily used to refer to the Norse, Scandinavian explorers, warriors, merchants, and pirates who raided, traded, and settled in wide areas of Europe and the North Atlantic islands from the late 8th to the mid-11th century. Despite having a rich and varied culture, mainstream conceptions of Vikings today generally portray them as bloodthirsty savages and with very few redeeming qualities, which has not, of course, stopped the Viking from being the mascot and symbol of businesses everywhere. Question. What was the one-time nickname of the Minnesota Vikings defensive line? Ready list Rafe. And Red Zone Russ.
The Vikings.
Kicking game Kevin.
Redhead guy.
Wrong! What's the Viking color, boys? Purple. What does the defense team do? They chew through people, thus purple people eaters. Come on, I mean, Halloween's right around the corner. Issue number 2.
Sports.
In 1983, Dungeon Module I-6 was released for the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons game. Ravenloft was written by Tracy and Laura Hickman after 5 years of playtesting every Halloween. Since then, a sequel, 2 re-releases, an expanded campaign setting, and multiple computer games have kept the Vampire Strahd in the gaming limelight for decades. Question. Out of the following, which was the other Dungeons & Dragons campaign module designed and written by the Hickman team? A. Dwellers in the Forbidden City. B. Tomb of the Lizard King. C. Adventures in Blackmoor. Or D. Desert of Desolation. Rookery Russ.
C.
Retching Rafe.
That's a good one. B.
And Croaking Kevin.
I'm gonna go with C.
C. Interesting. This is a new era in Rapid Fire, a question that had a correct answer, and yet all 3 of you are wrong! It was the trilogy Desert of Desolation.
That was close.
Issue number 3.
That was my second guess.
Second guesses don't count, buddy. Welcome to Rapid Fire. The origin of the word weekend can be traced back to the early 15th century of England, when the words week and end were first put together to denote that period of the week stretching from Saturday noon, when the work week ended, to Monday morning, when the work week began again. Its use as an adjective, meaning only on weekends, is traced back to the early 20th century. Question. How long is the longest period of time you could justify calling a weekend before you're talking about a full-fledged vacation? Rustication Russ.
3 days.
R&R Rafe.
3 days.
Camping Kevin.
I'm gonna say 2 days.
Wrong! 10 days! What? Thanksgiving weekend. Holidays on a Thursday, so you've got Friday off, obviously. You've got Saturday and Sunday, but clearly everyone takes Wednesday off to prepare. But that means that you'll be running around doing family stuff all weekend, so you're going to need Monday and Tuesday for incidentals and stuff for yourself, which of course bumps into the previous Saturday and Sunday. So you could clearly get some good, solid relaxing in there before the stress of the holidays. And speaking of the stress, you should probably take Monday off after that to recover. Issue number 4. Deep down amongst the definitions of the word irony lies the definition little used in literary circles that was intended by Alanis Morissette. The incongruity of an outcome of events contrary to what might have been expected. Question. If Alanis Morissette was a gamer, give one possible example of irony she might have used in her song. Wedding Day Rain Rafe.
Flinging out a peace sign.
Paid for free ride Russ.
Rolling a natural 20, we need a 5+.
Need a knife Kevin.
Rolling a 1 when you only need a 2.
It's like black primer when you reached for the clear. It's like boxcars when you're rolling for fear. It's the anti-air that you just didn't take, and that makes you all wrong. That's it for now. Thanks for listening, and good night.
You're listening to the D6 generation. Born to gain.
Hello!
Hello.
Yo, what's up?
And welcome to episode 64.
64 added, 6 and 4 added together is 10, which is like an awesome number.
That's a very exciting number of the D6 generation. I'm Russ Wakeland.
I'm Craig Gallant.
I feel 64, Rafe Hollywood Granger.
Wow, you feel feeling old today?
I do. I think Craig and I both, but Craig's going to go first.
I'm dragging. I'm going to go first, meaning die.
Nice.
No.
Because you know what? I have a very up-to-date cardiac write-up that
More
says otherwise.
on that later.
Yeah, I've
but
got
first,
a follow-up story to that. Not
what's
as good as yours.
What's
though.
in today's show today, Craig?
Oh, well, today we are going to look deep in depth at the new dungeon-crawling hotness that is Castle Ravenloft.
Ravenloft.
Wow, how bad was that?
Bad.
Epic fail on the technical side.
That was me making up stuff. And also, we should look at, we're going to talk to someone, Kevin from the Warstore.
The Warstore.
I'm looking forward to that.
Going to be talking about Warstore Weekend. Yeah, getting all the info on that. So,
Well, I want to hear their origin story, too, you know?
well,
Oh,
before we get to
dig
all
in.
that, though, first we have to thank the folks that help the show happen every time.
Keep the lights
Who should we
on.
thank first, Craig?
Let's thank Myriad Games, supporting the DC generation on behalf of friendly Virgin Game Stores everywhere. Myriad Games, so many games, so little time. And check out GameSalute.com for all of the latest in gaming news.
Yeah, and speaking of Fancy Pants gaming events, there's also some news over there at Game Salute, so check that out.
Yeah, 2 events happening at the same time over a 3-day period.
Right. It's craziness.
We
So
may
check
or
that
may
out.
not make an appearance.
Simultaneously.
Yeah, and there's some details are still being
Ironed out.
well, I think there's going to be some kind of super secret announcement soon, so keep an eye
Really?
on
Super
GameSalute.
secret?
I don't know. I got nothing.
Wow.
Right.
I'm excited.
So check that out.
That's not true. You probably know.
I don't know.
He knows more than he always
Dan
knows.
doesn't tell
more.
me anything.
Dan
does.
always tells you more than he tells us.
And
We always are the last 2 to find out.
who else should
Dan
we
likes
thank?
him more.
Rafe.
Dan likes you more.
Who else should we thank this week, Rafe?
We should thank Romeo and Battle Foamy. Romeo's mad at you, Russ.
Why?
You're not returning his calls.
Oh, he's got my old cell phone number, I bet.
Oh, I bet.
He's got some important...
That's my fault, because I told him to call you but didn't tell him you had a new number.
he- He's got my old number.
And
Yeah.
he's mad at you. No more phone for you and more for me to you, Craig.
He's got
Oh, good.
more. He's got my old number.
The next foam shipment may not make it to the Wakeland compound.
That's
Man,
right.
that's too
right.
bad.
Listen, if you're tired of your miniature scraping together and having your neighbor scrape and poke through, then you want to go to battlefoam.com and you want to get yourself a carrying case, hard-shelled, hard-packed, pack them in. It's all good. Romeo, battlefoam.com.
We have an affirmative on the achievement sound
Achievement
effect.
on Battle Foam. That's right. Protecting your army so you don't have to.
Yes, indeed.
Who should we
Battlefoam.com.
thank next, Russ?
Well, we should thank Lone Wolf Development.
Oh.
Makers of fine. Our wolf is sick. Stop. Quit smoking, Wolf. I think Lone Wolf Development, makers of fine computer software for all your gaming needs, including
I like tacos.
Army Builder, great way to crank out your miniature wargaming lists, and of course Hero Lab for your D&D and other role-playing games.
And some big ones coming right down the pipe.
Yeah, and then also, of course, Card Vault.
Card Vault
for tracking
all of
collectible
not just
stuff.
cards, collectible games of all kinds.
Any kind of collectibles.
Now, Craig,
Hey, Piggy,
I
give
call
me
it
a menthol.
coming down the pike. Do you call it that? Or
What
down
did I
the
just
pike?
say? I say down the pike when I say it at all, which is almost never.
Right.
Okay, but it is down the pike.
The expression is down the pike, like
Yes,
turnpike,
like exactly.
like driving down the
Which
road.
was an
I like
ancient
it.
highway in the Middle Ages, and you had to actually turn a pike to get off onto the area, sort of like a toll area.
Oh, fascinating.
nice.
Thank you.
All right. And we should also thank...
I want to do the last one, so someone else take the Warstore.
All right, Craig.
The Warstore, bringing the war to your door for a decade and more, or since 1999. And we've got, like we said, we're going to touch base with the Warstore today, and we are going to open the doors wide on the latest and greatest Northeast game convention.
Right. So stay tuned for that later in the show.
Stay tuned for that.
And Rafe wanted to go last. Rafe, who should we also thank?
I want to do this a little differently. I always love those in podcast commercials. So, for example, did you know, Russ and Craig, that right now at paintedfigs.com, which, by the way, their website looks very snappy, you can get up to 20% off your orders just through September only. Now, it's a voucher, so you got to contact them. You got to mail it in, PayPal it. They'll get you too. The other thing you need to know, they have a new shipping hub, but I wouldn't worry about it. We'll have to get Navin on and see what the time is like, but the rates seem just as affordable. So if you've got that dusty miniature tray laying around like I do, well, scrape it off, send them off to Navin and Painted Figs, and the boys over there will paint you up an army.
We just got an email from someone who's a very happy camper with Painted Figs. So, give them a holler and talk to Navin.
Painted Figs, the highest quality miniature painting at the lowest rates on earth.
That's right.
Even with shipping.
You'll hear that again later, too.
Make sure you tell them that the D6 generation sent you.
Wow, I don't have to run that ad now. All right. So, but it also to thank all of the folks, not just our shout-out offshore members. Yeah?
My iPad died.
Push the button down there in the corner.
What button?
Right there. That's the only button on the iPad. Push it.
It died.
All right.
My super high-tech thing died.
We've given Craig a new high-tech toy, and he's confused by it.
Slide to unlock. Okay, it's dead again.
What are you talking about? How can it be dead?
Is that or is that
Push
not?
the button.
I pushed it.
Now follow the instructions.
Slide to unlock. Oh, sure.
This is the device, folks, that people are hailing that even a 3-year-old can use it, and Craig has just figured it out.
I find it ironic that
I'm the one stuck
Apple
with an iPad.
As an iPad.
Yeah, I got it from work. Apple can't give these things away, so I got one.
Yeah.
You know, Craig, Russ has more Apple products than you and me put together.
That's very true.
iPhone, Russ.
Yeah.
iPhone, Nicole.
Yeah.
Apple TV, Russ.
Yeah, that's
iPad.
very true. That is true.
That's true. It's true.
Oh, he just nailed you.
Well, I also have a netbook and a Zune and a notebook. And a
I'm
PC,
going to prove my
box.
PC cred. Blah, blah,
I am
blah.
best of breed. I have whatever needed. All right.
All righty.
Moving right along, we also need to thank the folks who help us with shout-outs, who are not companies, but just individuals like yourselves. Oh, sometimes they have small businesses, but...
Sometimes they do, and we welcome them.
How does that work, Craig?
Well, you go to ebay.thed6generation.com, or you go to just go to eBay and look for the D6 Generation, as long as you know that you're in the United States eBay.
Right.
And you'll notice that every 2 weeks, just before the show goes up, we've got, are they 5-day auctions?
It's usually the weekend after the show goes live. So
is it a 5-day auction?
Yes, usually 3 to 5 days, depending on how quickly I forget to
Depending on how up-to-date Russ is,
Right.
You've got 3 and or 5 days to put in a bid for our shout-outs, and they go for, what you guys think they're worth, and, and you get to be part of our show.
So
Craig,
thank you very much for
he is always very honest with us.
He absolutely is. He totally
Yes.
is.
He's a good partner.
He is.
Also, we've had a lot of donations lately. How does the donation thing work, Rafe?
Well, normally what I say, another way to thank us, is just to click the donate button, and we still do appreciate that. You go to the website, d6generation.com, click the donate button, and we really do appreciate that. The other way, however, is also don't forget, you're a little short on coin, just go to iTunes and leave us a review. I was going to say a nice review, but technically you can leave us any review.
Although, if you're leaving a negative review, you need to leave it at our alternative site, which is codyandjohn.com.
Nice.
I did forget about that.
Ouch. Okay.
Just kidding. I'm kidding.
And also to thank those of you for thanking us. To thank you
for thanking you.
Us, right. We also have contests from time to time.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
And we just what did we give away last time?
We gave away Battles of Westeros.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Do we have anything to do this week? I don't think we do. I think we're taking a break this week.
I think we are taking a break
we have a lot going on. The play's going on for Craig.
It's
and
ridiculous.
There's still that little kid that just got born and other stuff going on.
Actually, I've got, I meant to tell you this in the pre-show. I've got a potential contest.
Oh, dear.
At least I have a prize.
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
This is not a joke. Not a joke.
Okay.
Scormo, which is an Apple app which you can use to score your board games. It's generic, so it's not like the Agricola Scorer one.
Right.
And he did a shout-out in Hollywood Minute, and I said, hey, dude, your app's really cool. What do you say you throw some promo codes my way, and we can give them away for prizes? And he was like, absolutely.
Oh,
So
cool.
I've got some promo codes for Scormo. If
You want
while
to give
we're
them
talking.
away on the Twitter right now?
Yeah. So how do
All right,
what could we do?
Well, we could give them away on the Twitter.
We could do that.
Why don't we do this?
Oh,
Rafe, why don't you do it on your Twitter account sometime? On the
Okay,
Rafe Granger Twitter account.
Okay.
How's that? You get more followers that way. Is that fun?
Ooh, I like it.
So why don't you give away? So here's the thing. If you don't follow Rafe yet, start following Rafe. At some point this week, Rafe will tweet those codes, and the first person to use them will win with the thing, right?
Is that how that works?
Yeah. It's a one-use code, right? What do you think, Rafe?
Ooh, I like it.
That's how Major Nelson does it on for
Yeah,
Xbox
we'll do
stuff.
that. So
Yeah,
the first week after they hear this.
No, well, whatever. You just keep watching. You got to start following Rafe.
Soon.
Follow Rafe.
Oh, no.
And you have to, Rafe, just do this after the episode drops.
Right.
That's what I was trying to
That's
say.
the important thing.
Right.
Right.
Understood.
Right.
That's the key.
Right. Yes, that would be important. So keep an eye on Rafe's. Rafe, what is your Twitter account?
The D6G Hollywood at
There
Twitter.
you go.
There you go.
So follow that, and you may win a free Apple applet.
Apple.
right.
All right. So is that all of our pre-show? Or
Well, I'd like to do a couple of special thanks.
Okay.
And I think
okay.
you guys can jump in because I think we all feel special thanks at this point.
Okay.
The first special thanks is to Angelo and La Quinta.
Oh yes.
La Quinta is really hooking Total Fangirl up.
Oh yes, they are.
And actually sent more stuff our way also.
Nice.
And so we always forget this because we haven't been able to take him up on his offer yet. But don't forget that La Quinta is the official hotel chain
of the
of the D6 generation.
Who knew we had one? We have a whole hotel
We
chain.
keep forgetting we have one.
They're awesome. If you go in and you tell them what's the code, what do you got to tell them?
That's the D6G.
Yeah, the D6G. And how much do you save?
10%.
Right.
Okay.
So if you go into some place, look
it
up La
doesn't
Quinta.
cost you nothing.
Right.
La Quinta's in there doing. They're revamping all over the country.
Yeah. And they're very nice hotels.
And I happen to know, I may or may not have been doing a small amount of research, that there is even one in Dublin. And if there's one in Dublin, they've got to be all over the place.
Wow, that's cool.
But you folk over in Dublin, you might want to think about looking out for me later on.
Excellent. All right. So any other thanks you want to say there, Craig?
Any other special
Oh
thanks?
yeah. Oh yes. We've had a very interesting week actually.
Okay.
For the first thing, we really should thank Black Library and Vincent at the Black Library because I think for all of us, this was a first. You know, you've sort of made it as a reviewer when you get yourself a galley copy of a book, which is months
What's
before
a galley copy?
It's months before it's released. It's like a big copy of the book.
Right.
Before
It's almost like a manuscript, but it's printed. It's not a real manuscript. But yeah.
It's basically you've got all the computer stats and everything, or the computer symbols and everything for the page layout, but it's done 2 pages per page as a big 3-ring binder sort of thing. And the Black Library sent us Dan Abnett's Prospero Burn.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Burning.
Very cool.
Yeah. Okay.
So thanks to the Black Library for that. That was
that's
really nice.
amazing because that book was supposed to come out a year ago, and then Mr. Abnett, as everyone knows, one of my favorite authors, had some really harsh health issues that put back his entire schedule.
Right.
And so it's been put back till December or January.
Right.
But we've got it, and I'll talk to you about it later. And we'll probably
No
can't
spoilers.
No, I haven't read the whole thing.
I'm
yet.
just saying.
I'm not going to spoil it.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm not going to spoil it.
You're not going to spoil it.
No.
Right.
Craig's not a spoiler. I am, though.
Rafe is.
Apparently.
Rafe already
Ian
spoiled
wanted to
Games of
punch
Thrones
you.
for Ian. I
That's
know.
what I
I
heard.
couldn't believe he did that.
Did he hit you when you showed up last
I
night?
would have. I would have hit him.
Listen, it's 3 years after.
Yeah, I know.
We'll get to
but
that in a minute.
when the game comes out and everybody's rediscovering it for the first time.
Yeah,
but anyway,
not cool.
what was I going to say? We can't obviously give this away until after the book
I don't
becomes
think we can
available.
ever give it away.
No,
Can
you
we?
sure? After the book's
we'll have to ask
available.
Vincent.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
we'll ask Vincent, but
Yeah, that's Vincent.
No. This goes into the D6G cabinet, man, right along with our shield.
All right. Okay.
that cabinet's all of a sudden getting mighty heavy.
Right.
Okay, and anyway, and then I've got a weird little story that I think is very ironic.
Okay. This is hilarious. I like this.
I feel awful.
I think it's
The timing is terrible.
I'm giggling with glee always.
Yes. Well, as regular listeners know,
I don't know. I don't know what
you,
he's
you,
talking
you,
about
that,
back there.
Rafe doesn't read his D6G emails
No, he
regularly,
doesn't.
so he doesn't know what's about to happen. As regular listeners know, I have been and I've always been a huge fan of David Weber.
Right.
And
Yes.
I talk about his books all the time, the Honor Harrington and the Armageddon Inheritance and
Yes.
all kinds of awesome books. However, Regular listeners will also know that very, very recently,
Last episode.
or two, okay, when I was reading,
You were very disappointed.
I was very disappointed, and I gave a very negative review, which, unfortunately, due
The
to
term
my
brutal might not be over the top.
shut up. Due to my innate honesty, I despite what's happened since, I still stand by the basics of what I said. However,
I thought it was accurate.
okay, well, you have never read the book, so thank you very
I know,
much
but
for
I've read
throwing
the
that.
other ones, and so I was able to totally
Okay.
understand what
Gotcha.
you were saying.
Okay, good.
only gets
So
better.
anyway, just keeps getting better. Yesterday, later on what I've been doing on eBay, because I've been like, there's packages showing up every day at my house because that's pretty much all I can do is buy stuff at this point. So
Kid paid, he's like, I'll show her. I'm going to buy crap.
Exactly. So a package shows up, and I'm like, oh, it's a big package. I wonder what that is. And I'm trying to think. I don't have anything that size due right now. That's weird. And I open it up. It's a copy of the book I just reviewed, Mission of Honor,
Right.
with a little slip of paper inside it. The little slip of paper inside it is a printed out email
Oh, no.
to somebody who knows David Weber.
Uh-oh.
The little slip of paper says, I have been dealing with these guys from the D6 generation for a while now. They're a really big podcast, and one of the hosts loves David's books. Please have David sign him a copy. I know he would really appreciate it.
OMG.
So then I start flipping through, and sure enough, a very nice, very personal note to me from David Weber signing the book that I just reviewed,
Nice.
thereby drenching me in a giant bucket of irony.
And if Dave Weber's like, you know what? I might listen to this podcast. Which
Yeah.
episode shall I choose first?
Yeah, exactly. Because the podcast and the podcast address were both included in that email.
Awesome.
And I feel awful because
Achievement for honesty.
Okay, well, I'm going to
Yeah,
again, I stand by what I said, but I also want to reiterate that that's one book out of all the other books, and I really do love most of the other books that he's written. Okay, so there
That was
you go.
awesome.
And,
And the word
I
for
don't
the day
know.
is irony.
It is again. And I don't know who did this for me. The return address was Gina Smith at Words of Weber, and it's an eBay
Yeah, but that might be coming
slip.
right from his office or something.
But I doubt he's doing stuff from eBay, right?
Who
or
could
is it
say?
an eBay? It may not be an eBay. I don't see eBay. Click and
Anyway,
ship.
if you sent
But
it to Craig,
anyway,
let him know.
yeah, please let me know if you did this, because it was awesome. Situationally awkward, notwithstanding, and I really do appreciate it. It was really, really neat.
It was really
and
very
thank
nice.
you.
That
It
was
was
very
very, very, very nice, and my wife got a
Achievement for the person
gigantic
who went all that
kick
work.
out of it.
Yeah.
As
I'd
did
like to
Russ.
thank
I'm still
Shafty
giggling.
Woo and 1L for leaving us 5-star iTunes reviews,
Nice.
guys.
Oh, yeah.
September 15th, 2010.
Looks like Race reading iTunes.
Ooh,
again.
thank you very much. That was just yesterday.
One of them says Jimmy Django right in the title. That's freaking
That's what
awesome.
attracted him in.
There you go.
Rafe Googles Jimmy Django.
I was going to
once in a
say,
while.
Rafe Googles Jimmy
He
Django
Googles
once
Jimmy
a day.
Django and sees who's been
I got to
using
get
his new
back to my
term.
blog. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's been what now? 6 months?
Well, Russ, are you closing down a law practice? No.
Oh, I think you touched a nerve.
No, also, while I'm on that
Uh-oh,
rant,
here we
I don't
go.
work in the IT field, so I don't get to write my blog during the day. I'm
Ouch.
protecting the citizens of New Hampshire. From
Sounds
evil
like sounds like an irate civil servant.
Wait, don't you have a government job now?
Yes.
Okay, so where does the time go?
I can't even get to Google Docs. It's banned.
So the problem really isn't that you don't have time. The problem is they've locked you out.
No, they all just
Actually,
hang
there's-
around the water cooler complaining about the firewall.
Right.
You forgot the Dunkin'. I bring munchkins every Friday.
Do you really?
I do.
You're like the office suck up.
All right. Is it?
You're the new guy.
Pretty
You know
much.
what it's time now for?
What?
Yeah. What is it? Oh, gee.
Wow.
I want to try it.
You had a-
It's
you had a-
time
Rafe.
for achievements in.
Sadly,
We knew it wouldn't work.
Craig has lost it.
Knew it wouldn't work. That's funny.
Wait, we missed the part. There it is.
It took 64 episodes to pull that off.
Wow. Craig has lost it. Okay. So anyway. I can't breathe. Rafe, while Craig is recovering, who is Achievements in Gaming brought to us by this week? Craig.
giving
A
me
The shout out
Rave?
is 24 California police officers from Berkeley and UC Berkeley are riding 200 miles to raise money for holiday turkey dinners. Yum. For local needy families. Search quotation mark Boosters Turkey Ride end quotation mark on Facebook for information on how to support the ride. Help them to unlock this holiday achievement.
There it is.
Very nice.
Nice job. Nice shout out too. That's cool.
Good job, guys. All you guys that are doing the race,
Remember,
ride.
Facebook search Boosters Turkey Ride. Find
I have
more.
to say, one of my proudest achievements is when we hear from people doing the like with the canned
Yeah.
food drives.
We love
and
help.
different
Yeah,
things.
we
So-
absolutely love helping you guys out and doing
Yeah,
that.
I love being able to be a platform for that. Hey, Russ, before we dive into
he
games
paid
played, you know what I realized?
Yes.
You haven't really gotten your due on something.
What's that?
Craig joined Twitter.
Yes, he did. Yes, he
And
did.
Yes.
we didn't really.
And I tweeted
rub-
twice.
He has tweeted twice.
We haven't really.
Once was an
bragged
actual
him
tweet,
on
too,
that.
It was
Okay.
actual, yeah.
So
No,
you were right, Russ. We got to say it on
I'm
the
saving
air.
all that up for the final year in review episode when we
Oh,
review
okay.
these things.
And I'm planning on being dead by then, so it's not going to matter.
I'm racking them up. All right, but I'll
So
take
tell
an
us
achievement
about
for
the
that.
games you've played, Russ.
Wow, okay. Let's see. What have I been playing? I have been playing. Well, I've been playing a lot of Castle Ravenloft. I think I played 5 times since
Wow,
last
that's a lot.
we recorded. Now we did take a
Holy
week
cow.
off. We had an extra little bit of time there,
Yeah.
but totally love it. I also discovered something new about myself. One day we played Castle Ravenloft 3 times, and then Descent, my campaign, for like 3 hours. Mm-hmm. So I played a lot of
Dungeon crawling?
dungeon crawling, and I did not at any point go, "Oh, I'm getting tired of dungeon crawl." I was like, "Yeah, more, baby."
Wow, you're a junkie.
I don't know. I just love dungeon crawls. I've discovered that about myself.
Russ,
That's
can you have a seat for a second?
Yeah, I know.
The first thing I want to know, everybody here loves you. Okay,
go.
we all love you,
But
but
There's nothing wrong with dungeon crawling. I can stop anytime I want to.
they've each written down a little something. I just want you to sit there and listen to them as
So-
they read their thoughts.
Now, also, I had a little fun moment here. Jeff Engelstein from the Dice Tower
Oh yeah,
was driving to New Hampshire,
really?
and he was like, "Hey, do you want to say hi or something?" And so he and his family and my family went to Parker's Maple Barn.
Oh wow, oh beautiful,
And
delicious,
That's why we
delicious
take him
breakfast.
someplace nice because he was driving up to Canada.
Yeah,
wait. You spoke that so fast. Where'd you go?
Parker's Maple Barn,
one of the best
okay.
places for breakfast in southern New Hampshire.
a very good New
Never
England
been.
experience.
Oh, then you haven't really eaten a
should go
breakfast
there.
in
Yes,
southern New
indeed.
Hampshire.
Anyway, I'll take an achievement for that. But anyway, so Jeff was kind enough to bring us a board game right there at the thing. And have you guys heard of Telestrations?
No.
Never heard of it.
Okay, so think of Pictionary
Yep.
meets the old kindergarten game Telephone.
Okay.
So what you basically do is the game comes with a bunch of rules, but we threw all that out. We just took out. There's a bunch of little flip books that have dry erase markers with them.
Okay.
And every player gets a flip book, and there's enough for like 8 players in there. Mm-hmm. Or is it 8 or 6? I can't remember. There's a lot of players. And you, what you do is each player first writes a phrase on the first page of the flip book.
Okay.
So I wrote like jet over city, right?
Okay.
And then you pass the flip book.
Is that like a legit phrase?
It can be whatever you want.
City?
Any small thing, like whatever you want to say.
just made that. That's
Something
like
people could
random
draw.
words.
Yeah, I picked that up. It's like jet over
Okay.
city. So you pass it to the player on your right, and then the person to your left is going to pass you a book.
Okay.
Then you read what they wrote.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody. You flip it to a blank page, and now you must draw a picture of what they wrote.
Okay.
So I try to draw. So Rose, my daughter's trying to draw jet over city. I'm drawing whatever the person gave me. Then you flip it over to a blank page and pass it to the person on your right. They look at the picture you draw,
Yeah.
and they try to write the sentence they think the picture was.
Yeah.
And then you pass it again with a new picture, and you write the new sentence.
Uh-huh.
And it goes around the table till the books go all the way around,
Yeah.
and then you flip through the books and show what actually happened.
That's actually
And
really funny. That's
Jet
a
over
good
city
idea.
turned into Ginger Man King Kong eating building.
That's funny.
That sounds like a
very
blast.
fun
This
game.
on
Yeah.
I did hear about Game On with Hannah Montana was talking about this.
Very.
Came on with Anima.
So-
what did we decide that we were just going to slam them?
You know, it's football season.
But there's
So-
that, and there's the fact that they're coming into our backyard.
Yes, they're coming to New Hampshire.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's
They're
a very
big
fun
indie
game.
fans, you know.
Now, the full game comes with all these cards and all these dice and everything,
Yeah.
but we just played with the make your own
Sounds
phrase
like
up.
a blast
It's
just
fun.
that way.
It's fun, and we took it to John and Susan the other night and played. And
Oh,
had a
really?
great time. Yeah, so it's a good time.
Just for the record, Cody's Montana. So
Okay, just for the record.
Alrighty.
Also,
because he
played,
plays Cador. So
as I mentioned before, played a lot of Sea of Blood,
Yes, you did.
and Overlord had a little payback. Remember last time I
Very
talked,
nice.
so now we're all balanced out again. Also been playing a bit more of the old Roadkill Rally, which I spelled wrong.
wow.
people were grumbling about that one, Craig.
They were.
Oh yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my God! I think Tim Colonna and somebody else was like, "Oh my God, that game took 3 hours."
Well, Tim Colon is an interesting character. I love Tim, but here's the thing: the game was actually 2 hours, And Tim, he like checks out sometimes in the middle of a game, and that's what happened here. He kind of checked out. So, so if that happens, it gets slow. And
he does
feel grumpy gamer, actually.
And he's not shy about telling you when he checks out.
I mean, I like him, but sometimes he checks out. Now, what happened? The only problem with Rokurola, Raleigh, I like Rokurola Raleigh a lot, but what can happen is players in the lead can block it out, and slow the whole race down,
and then just drag.
And if they do that, the cards don't flip over very fast, and it can make the game go slow. And that's what happened. We had 2 lead racers who decided it was a good strategy to block it out.
Who were they?
Josh.
Oh, that's
wait. Let me guess. Blake.
No, actually, Blake was in the back. I can't remember who the other person was blocking up, but they did a lot of blocking, and it slowed it down a little bit. But I think it's a fun game. I really like it. If you keep it light, it's fun. But
Josh is definitely a victory at all costs kind of guy.
It can kind of break if people aren't careful with it. But
I don't think it's not broken.
It's just
he
long.
still
it
won.
Goes slow. Yeah, Josh did win. Did he win?
Right, skip through the next ridiculous thing because I want to hear about your next book.
Crimson Skies. Woohoo! Makes a resurgence. So at Gen Con, right?
Why is that ridiculous?
Craig,
That's a great
he's playing
game.
Crimson Skies over Firestorm Armada or anything.
No, I was helping my friends.
Ships should have been flying around.
No, look.
Nah.
You're one of the people that are always. You're like
Crimson
Dave
Skies is a
Farr.
great game.
Every once in a while, you start
Wings
whining
of
that
War
we're
is 800
stop.
times better than Crimson
Look.
Skies.
You're always whining that we're playing all the new games, and why don't we stick with some
I'm
old
not
games?
whining.
Here's a nice old game we're bringing off the closet.
I do.
Yep. So here's a nice old one. What happened with this game is a bunch of the guys discovered at Gen Con, like for $15 to get a whole box of everything ever made for Crimson Skies.
Yeah.
So a bunch of them bought it, and Ian was one of them. He's like, let's play Crimson Skies. And since Ian is kind enough to play games with me all the time that I bring out, I thought, sure. So I grabbed my old stuff, literally covered in piles of dust, my Black Swans, and we played a nice little pickup game with 5 or 6 players.
You are a good buddy gamer
Good
that
times.
way.
Good times.
He totally is.
He totally is. He will dedicate 3 hours of wasted time
It's
if
not
someone
3
else
hours.
plays with
It took us an hour. We were done in
Oh,
like
I
an hour.
forgot a game that includes.
hour.
Now, here's what you did want to hear about, I think.
Yeah, I want to hear about this.
D&D 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm starting to play with my brother John. He's starting up a new campaign.
Love it.
And we're playing with the new Fantasy Grounds. It's not new. The Fantasy
You playing
Grounds
with Joe?
software. My brother John, Joe, Pete, and Craig might join us later once everything calms down with the
play
thing.
is over, maybe.
And
Listen.
Rich Whitney, our friend of ours.
What? No.
Yeah.
What I liked about it was Rich in the original high school crew?
No.
See, this is tell them this backstory to this, man. This is your original high school crew, except for that guy who's like Jesus or something.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, no, Pete wasn't in the original high school crew, but
he wasn't.
He wasn't in Russ's original high school crew.
And Craig came in later though. Was in with John, but Pete did play us occasionally. It was going to be Craig in the beginning and not Rich, but when Craig couldn't make it for a while, John sent out an invite and picked up Rich. That's what happened there. But it wasn't really designed to be only the old school crew. It just worked out.
I know, but I thought that was cool that it worked out that way.
So that was kind of cool. So that's that. Now that's I think that's pretty much everything I'm doing in gaming.
Whoa. Back the truck up.
Yeah.
What's the program you're using? That's what I want to hear about.
Well,
Is it good? Does it work?
Okay, well, so I interviewed the creators of the program back at Gen Con. It's in the Gen Con interview episode. And I wanted to try it out. And we did a lot of research. And the problem with these programs, all of them is they all work and they all do different things. But they're all, none of them are by like a high-end software house because it's too niche a market, right? So they're all good, but they're quirky. And what's nice about Fantasy Grounds, though, is it does everything really, really nicely. And has a really good storytelling mode. So like literally the DM can be like, okay, you walk in and this person hands you this map, and all of a sudden on the screen pops up a map John hand drew. Boink.
Wow.
Or it could be an image you found on the internet. What he wants to put up there is storytelling. And then when combat happens, it's all got built-in 4E mechanics. You got to type in your powers and stuff. But like I can actually say, okay, I'm going to use my, Eldritch Blast power. I can just drag the power onto the target on the map, and it automatically rolls the dice and says you hit or miss. Or if you want to be really, really old school about it, I can also just grab a D20, roll it, manually add my stats. And we've got Ventrilo running, so we're talking, which is a voice program.
See, this is what I'm wondering. Why not just have Vent or Skype? I don't get it.
Well, we do have Vent,
scanner.
but you need a battle mat, right, to show where your models are. Because in 4E, it's
Not
all
really.
Well, in 4E, you do. So in some games, like in 4E and in 3.5, they're very map focused. Everything in the game
is there a way to build your character online? Meaning in the program with drop-down menus. I'm a dwarven cleric. I have this power.
Well,
click,
it doesn't
you have
auto
to type all that in. If you have to type it in, that's very lame.
You type it in once, just like you're typing a character in, but then it's stored there. And then what happens though is you can drag it right onto your stuff and it just auto rolls and stuff for you. And
is it fun?
Yeah, it's actually very, very fun. We're having a good time with it. So what's really cool about it is it does all kinds of things. Like the big thing that's always been a challenge when you play D&D is the initiative tracker. and it's got a built-in initiative tracker and built-in stats, and it shows you like this guy's bloody, this guy's lightly wounded. You can drag dice right into the guy and do damage to him. It's really slick.
How's the DM handle monsters? Do you have to type the monsters in, or are there drop-down menus with stats?
Well, you can type them all in yourself, or you can, if you're a member of D&D Insider, you can import them that way and get them all into there that way too. So it's up to you.
Okay.
What's cool about it, though, is it's not really any different than making up a scenario yourself, right? So let's say we were going to make up your scenario on paper and have everything pre-written down on quick cards. Because we used to play D&D old school. John would write up on 3x5 cards all the monsters for the encounter, be ready to go really quickly. And so that prep work is the same in the system, except instead of writing a 3x5 card, you're just typing it into little windows on the computer. So it's the same sort of thing.
It's not as slick as I want it to be.
It's pretty slick. If you saw it in action, I think you'd be impressed.
Okay.
Everybody else is impressed so far.
Yeah, if you see it work,
all I see is the emails about it, and they're all gooing and gone.
The only problem with it is that the UI, everything is really cool and works, but none of it's like normal computer stuff. Everything's different. Like, when you resize a window in Windows, normally you drag the corner and drag it. In here, you got to hold the control button down and slide the mouse. It's like things like that, which make it...
Russ, they call it the GUI interface, just FYI.
Okay.
The GUI, he said. I was trying to be funny.
Yeah, okay.
Trying to bust him since he's a techie. GUI.
Well, good luck with that.
Right.
How do you think
in
it
a serious
worked
note, what time and how did you pick the time? Like, with everybody being so busy, blah blah blah.
Well,
are you finding that the internet is making it easier?
Oh, it definitely makes it easier to get together. The big challenge is no one could ever get together. So what we're able to do now is like Monday night, 2 hours. Let's just pop on and play a quick, battle or whatever. What's nice about 4E is it can be made very bite-sized because the battles are very fast. And what's cool is because you're in the computer, the battle map's all savable and everything else too. So you don't, it's not like you got to tear it all down, bring it back up, all that stuff.
Right.
So it's pretty handy for that kind of thing. So we'll see. We haven't actually, all we've done is a couple sample battles and made all our characters up. We haven't actually started really playing yet, so we'll see how it works.
Okay.
So I'll take an achievement for that. But that's pretty much what I've been working on. So a lot of in game set categories there.
Excellent. I'm going to go next.
Craig, I think you should go next.
I
I'll take another one.
I played Castle Ravenloft twice with Dave, Brian, and Brian's daughter, Mo.
Ooh.
Pete had his 40th birthday party, and we didn't know if his family was going to throw anything. So at the last minute, instead of playing Descent last time we got together, we just played some games that Pete has been enjoying, which included Hex XL.
Nice game.
Which was a blast, as it was the last time we all got together. And Cutthroat Caverns, which hasn't come out in a little while. And
Pete likes to screw your neighbor games.
He does indeed. He does indeed.
Wonder why that is.
And I was able to once go to Myriad Games and once play one game, and Jeremy talked me into playing Uncharted Seas. And I put down my dwarves. Now, I've been really excited about Uncharted Seas for a while. Also, everybody should know that our big complaint about Spartan Games and Uncharted Seas from the last time we were talking about them has been fixed, because their new rule book has gone to the printers and they've updated their entire website with that information now. So there is
Craig, for those who don't follow, what was the big gripe?
That the information was spread all over their website.
Spread all over.
There wasn't one place you could go, and now there is.
Okay. Did they add flying rules and everything to the rule book?
The new rule book is going to include all the fleets that are currently available, including ships that haven't come out yet, and the flying rules and the submersible rules. So it's really going to be a...
Sounds like I'm buying my third Uncharted Seas rule book, and it's been years.
Yes, I think it does, yes. It sounds like I'm going to buy my second, because I wasn't suckered into buying the second.
I was suckered in.
So that's exciting. And the game was a blast. I felt sorry for Jeremy, because he normally is a very competitive player and has really good dice rolling. Not so much.
Maybe he's trying to lure you into liking the game again.
Maybe, but my dwarf...
yes, he was doing the old Russ tactic.
Yeah, I don't think... Russ does not ever do that.
No, I never do that.
Russ and I have the same general educational philosophy, which is the burned hand teaches best.
You're thinking of the old Russ, not the new Russ.
Unless he's changed in the last week.
He's Boards Mark II.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
You guys are both crazy.
So those were my games.
Nice.
Me?
That's pretty good for
I'm
me.
going to
That is pretty good.
With an MMO, a
God.
massively multiplayer online game known as Latro. Dove back into it because Latro has gone free to play. It's a very interesting debate among MMOers. It's a Korean-based system where they go free to play out there. And I'm a supporter of it. I think it's cool. It's brought in some new blood.
Now, let me ask you this. Don't you have a lifetime membership?
Yes, I did.
Didn't you pay good money for that?
Yes, I did.
How does that make you feel?
Fine. And I'll tell you why. That's one of the big debates.
Right.
One of the big debates. A lot of people go, I paid a lifetime. Now everybody's going to get what I have. Well, no, you don't. Because first of all, free-to-play doesn't mean you can play all the way up to level cap. So free-to-play basically means you can play up to, I don't know, I'm making it up, level 20, and you only get 1 backpack instead of 5, and you can't have a horse, and all these limitations. So first of all,
Gotta
it's
be
not
a hobbit.
quite really free-to-play. Which I think is a jip to people coming into the game. But here's why I like it as a lifetime member. I get, I don't know, so many thousand Turbine points every month because I'm a lifetime member. Turbine points are just like Microsoft points.
Okay.
And then, Russ, in the Latro stores, you could be in game. We could be standing around in an instance, and I can click right into the in-game store. And just think Microsoft Live. I can buy avatar type stuff. I can buy cosmetic stuff. I could buy in-game boosts.
Now let me ask you this. So you're saying that you're getting back into Latra because of free to play?
No,
and yet
I
you're
got
already
back into
lifetime
it
member.
because at the time they did free to play, they also gave us an expansion.
Oh, okay. So new expansion. I get
New
it.
expansion, yeah.
And how is the new expansion?
To be honest, I don't like it that much so far.
So why are you playing it again?
Well, because I kind of knew that a lot of my kin over the summer who were gone because it's the summer would come back to see what free to play is like and to see what the new expansion's
So
like.
are you finding because of free to play, there's more players on the servers again?
Yeah, including our kin.
Okay, that's cool.
So the summer doldrums is over.
I see.
So what that enabled me to do, and this is what I've been enjoying, is the instances are 10 times harder than WoW. I don't care if any WoW, let's just say I'm full of it. That's bullcrap. That you have to really kind of know what you're doing, and you have to play your role really well. So they're challenging. I've been doing some 6-man instances, and it's been very fun and challenging.
I see.
So that's cool. And I like the free-to-play model because I think it breathes new blood into the game, including me. So here I am, a lifetime member. I've never have a reason to spend $1. Assuming I burn through my turbine points, I'll have a reason because I want to go, I want to buy that shiny mount or that shiny avatar. So again, that'll give Turbine my money, kind of like supporting Dan and the Warstore. That's good. Give them our money, and they're around to support us. So I'm a proponent.
There you go.
So is Latra your favorite MMO of all time?
What is? Is that my favorite one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I like it better than WoW, I've decided.
Now, do you still support WoW?
No, I haven't played or joined subscription for like 9 months, and I think if I've got enough willpower, I'm going to avoid going back in Cataclysm because I'm sure people are going to tell me how cool it is, but I think I'm going to try to avoid it.
I don't believe you. That's why I think this D&D campaign is going to do fine until Cataclysm comes out.
It's going to
My brother and John
right around the corner, isn't it?
play. Yeah, we'll see how long it makes it.
But you know what, Russ? That is their favorite game. Like,
I get it.
They can't fault it.
Yeah. Well,
That's
it's like
their
me and
favorite.
Halo. I actually left. I'll talk more about this later, but I actually left gaming on Tuesday early to play Halo. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, exactly. It's your favorite series, you know.
Right.
I played Ravenloft ×2, one with adults. I'm hearing everybody saying, we'll get into this in the review, I've only played the second mission, and then I played with my nephews and my son, and they loved it just like I thought they would. The sleeper hit for me, Forefathers.
Forefathers?
What?
Wow.
What's Forefathers?
What's that?
What's Forefathers?
Is that not the name of the game? What's the name of the game?
I don't know what game you're talking about.
Russ is being a total jerk.
What?
What?
What are you talking about? Describe the theme.
ForOurFathers.com.
For Our Fathers?
The American history game.
Founding Fathers.
Yes, thank you. Founding Fathers ×2.
Okay, for those of you out there in the cloud listening to this who can't see Russ's
That was
face,
totally innocent.
That was 100% smarmy from beginning to end.
What are you talking about?
Oh, what? Oh, I don't know what you're talking about, Rafe. Repeat
I
it
just
some
want to make
more.
sure it's clear for our listeners because forefathers could be anything.
Yeah.
Right.
They're going to go Google forefathers and they're going to get some kind of porn site.
That's right. Thank you, Russ.
No
So
problem.
Founding Fathers ×2.
Right.
I heard the boys over there at HannahMontana.com. That's Game On. It was Go Pats. They explained it to me, and I'm like, oh my God, talk about Turn and Taxes being boring, which, by the way, is supposed to be a great game. Who would ever want to vote? Craig, you vote on articles.
Yeah, I played this game a couple weeks ago. It's awesome.
I've watched it.
It's awesome.
This is the most fun game I've ever played.
Really?
Don't you think, Russ?
I don't know if well, I wouldn't go that far. I think it's an excellent game. And I think it's
fun.
great for teaching American history, but also I think it's really, really cool mechanics that are fun. So I think it's really good in a lot of ways. I don't know if it's the best game ever, but it's good. It's a good game. It's so solid. Yeah, ever. EVAR.
Russ
If you like
Russ
Eurostyle
just dipped
games-
into the valley. Evar.
Man, is it fun.
Oh my God,
So
gag
I'd
me
like to
with a
look that
spoon.
up.
Definitely check it out, especially if you're even remotely interested in the theme. You'll love it. It's really good.
Yeah, I want to do a review of it. And if,
Oh, yeah,
if you
I'm
want
with you.
right away.
That's 2 out of 3. We're in.
To Game On with Cody and
We
John.
can drag
I don't know what
Craig. Craig, I
episode.
like the theme, though. We can get Craig another theme.
Yeah,
He likes American
If
history.
I can ever look at another game,
We could just vote 2-1.
Right, right.
Played some Magic the Gathering, blah, blah, blah.
Need negative
and then I
treatment.
played Third and Long again, and I still like that game.
Nice.
I want to play that with Andy because I know he likes sports.
Oh, there you go.
What about modeling? Anybody doing any modeling?
No.
Really? I got a little bit done. I actually sent out a picture of my flagship's bottom all
Yes,
painted
it's
up.
beautiful.
And the foresail's done.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see the rest of the sails over there primed white. I got to finish those up.
Look at that.
So I'm almost there. I'm getting very close. I primed the
Very
hulls
nice.
black and the sails white just
Yeah,
to make it easier
yeah,
on
yeah.
myself.
I think
there.
that's what I did when I did the Imperial Fleet
Yeah,
for
you get dwarves.
Miri.
Dwarves have no sails. Dwarves and Shroud Mages, no sails. Very nice. Very fast to paint. Just saying.
On the other hand, I have also done the
Oh, no, I'm not saying you're cheaping out. I'm just
elves
saying. I know.
and
You've done them all.
the Dragon Lords, and I have
Hey, did you get flyers yet?
Yes, I do.
Did you paint them yet?
No,
Okay.
but they're big.
I know.
They have balls.
This is the new Craig.
I've
The
got
old Craig
nothing
would have
painted.
painted 3 fleets by now.
That's right.
All right. Well, what about
The old Craig. I mean, the new Craig owns lots of
Craig,
stuff.
why don't you tell us about your latest addiction?
Okay. Hi, I'm Craig, and I'm addicted
Hi,
to
Craig.
eBay.
You have been a little addicted to eBay.
It's insane.
He's always been addicted.
No,
Let me just tell you a story.
It goes in phases.
Yes. Here's how this works, okay?
Russ is right. Go
so
ahead, Russ.
a random collectible game that Craig professes he hates will come out. Let's say with a
Correct.
remotely interesting theme for him, like Star Wars collectible miniatures,
Yes.
Star Wars. Yeah.
Axis
Star
and
Wars,
Allies,
Star Wars,
fleet
starships.
game,
Yeah.
whatever. And all of a sudden, Craig will be like, "That seems kind of," or Pirates of the Spanish Main.
Yeah. Those were actually.
Craig's like,
That's it, though. You've covered them all.
That's kind of interesting, and we each buy one pack, and we're like, "This is kind of fun." All of a sudden, Craig comes into the store. He's got a
I'm a
spreadsheet.
completist.
He's got a spreadsheet with every stat of every ship.
Right.
Here's the ones I've owned. Here's the auctions that are currently running. Here's what I'm going to get next week. I'm like, what the? We're buying one booster a week. What are you
Yeah.
doing?
I
over
can't
there?
do
I
one
think there
booster
was
because
one
you
more,
don't get
too,
to pick.
Russ.
No,
Russ, what was the one with the sheets, the battle grids with the monsters?
Dreamblade. I didn't go on.
No, he
eBay
didn't
for
get
that.
into
Go nuts
Dreamblade.
on that
I
one,
liked
okay.
Dreamblade. I bought
Dreamblade
some
is fun,
boosters,
yeah.
but I didn't eBay Dreamblade.
Okay. How about Star Wars minis? Not even the ships.
Yeah, I did.
He did do Star Wars.
Russ,
minis.
Russ covered
He did both
Yeah.
Star Warses. Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, in my defense, it's
what's
not
the
like I'm
latest
doing
one?
power game, and it's not collectible.
Okay, good.
The latest one is Uncharted Seas,
Yeah.
because I'm like,
Why is that eBay? Oh,
because
because you're
I'm
stealing them from people for a
auctioning.
buck.
No, hey now, shut up. Okay,
It's
'cause
not stealing if they put
first
it up
of
for
all,
auction.
I got to tell you, because I'm the only one in the entire area with it. The Uncharted Seas terrain kicks butt.
Does it really?
It is awesome.
Now, how are you getting it on eBay? Why aren't you buying it from a?
Because I'm getting it. I'm taking a chance. I'm going
I
down
see.
there. I'm bidding.
All right.
That's what's fun about auctions.
Yeah, that's where the addiction comes in, Russ.
Wow.
And I've got to tell you that if the war tower or the war thing is awesome,
yeah.
the battle keep is awesome,
yep.
the walls are awesome. The only thing I could probably do without is the wharves and jetties.
Yeah, but you probably
the
got it for a
dock
buck.
set.
So what's the deal?
No, I did not, unfortunately. But yeah, the walls are
cool.
beautiful. The detail is so ridiculous. Like
Spartan gets
tiny,
good stuff. They really
tiny little bricks and tiny little
And
stairs.
that's what makes
and
them awesome. Is their models.
there
great.
are literally like 50-gallon, like kegs
Yeah.
on the docks in
Wow.
that 2mm scale.
Wow.
It's insane.
Wow.
The detail is unbelievable. They
paid
look
yet?
beautiful. Yeah. No.
That's the problem now. You can't paint, but you can still buy.
That is
It's
the
just going to
problem.
pile up in the corner and gather dust.
That is the problem, and
Wow.
I think that's what this is an this is an
Is that you're
excellent
protesting?
textbook. It's a textbook example of transference. Oh yeah, I can't paint. Well, I'll show you.
You know what I just realized too, Russ?
Wow.
He cleansed his palette. He got rid of all that other junk.
Oh,
that was
that's
holding
right.
him Back.
I
That's right.
did.
He's got more room to
did.
store new stuff.
He's got more room.
And epic stuff. I've been picking
yeah,
up
yeah.
a lot of epic stuff, and in fact, I've been trying desperately to pick up squats
Oh, yes.
in epic.
Why don't you just convert them?
Yeah.
And you did it for
Yeah,
40K.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did for 40K. I'm not going to do it because there's no 6mm fantasy squats dwarves.
You don't need 6, just need 3 for dwarves.
No, oh, that's true. Very nice. Although I would like to send a shout out into the cloud. I'm good for it. I'll pay
good
market
for it.
value or trade, but I'm desperately looking for squat stuff from Epic because I get sniped because I'm at school when all these ridiculous British people. There,
Hey, now.
whenever. No, I
Don't
love
attack the
you.
British.
I love you. Love your island.
Send
Love your
hate mail
country.
to Craig
iPad.
Gallant at D6G.
Okay, but honestly, you guys, every one of your auctions ends while I'm at school, and I get sniped on every one. You know what's really I learned 2 lessons today, actually. One is it's really frustrating when you're like, oh yeah, the American dollar is weak. You can know that intellectually, but not until you're bidding on something in another country and watching. Like I'm not bidding, I'm watching. It's a buy it now, and I didn't want to buy it now because I was bidding on a bunch of stuff.
Sometimes you don't want it now.
No,
you want it later.
I was bidding on a bunch of stuff, so I kept the watch it now or buy it now in my watch list. Right. So it's price remains constant, £6.50. Okay, well, watch as that slowly creeps up every day, going from a little less than $10 to $10 to a little more than $10 to $10.16, and you're like, oh my god! As I'm watching, the American dollar is getting weaker. Also, it's really frustrating to know that guy out there has 16 sprues for the amount of $10 a piece, and so there's a guy selling 5 sprues. So I bid like $48, thinking nobody who Actually, I put it to 50. I bid $50. I'm like, I'm gonna win it. Maybe I'll get it for a little cheaper than the other guy selling it. Someone else bid $54.
Well, you never put it in for an even amount. They know that's just your max. You always put it in for a little bit higher.
No, it doesn't matter. That means somebody paid more for the auction than for the buy it. The other guys buy it. And if you're out there looking at epic squat stuff, you found it all because there's only like 20 things.
Right.
And everybody looking for it knows what's out there. And so anyway, tough
market. It's brutal out there.
So do me a favor, folks.
The mean streets of eBay.
Brutal market, Craig, in this economy.
Hey, guys, this is the only gaming that I have right now. Okay.
Okay. Fair enough.
You've got to give it to me. Okay.
That's right.
Anyway, I've done been doing a lot of reading.
Soon.
After the Laundry Files books, I did get interested again in H.P. Lovecraft, and I went out and I got the Barnes and Noble Definitive Anthology, and learned the hard way that I'm not a giant H.P. Lovecraft fan.
Yeah.
I like his stuff, but his style, I can't read an entire anthology. I get, it's all so similar that it starts to run together, and but it's good stuff. I like Call of Cthulhu. I mean, I've read it all before in high school, but I like it. Codex Alera is still awesome by Jim Butcher. Although I do have to say that do you feel it's frustrating when you're reading a book and there's like a big reveal of a big secret and you figure it out, and I think almost everybody figures it out, but the author just keeps not telling you.
Yeah. Oh God, I can't stand that.
Like he just won't like. And,
I hate when they do it in movies too.
Yeah. Well, there's a big one in the Codex Alera, and I'm just like, I had it figured out by the probably halfway through the second book. And so I'm like, no, actually at the beginning of the second book, because I'm in the third book now. I'm almost done the third book. And I'm just like, will you just please confirm? And then at the end of the second book, those of you, I'm not going to give anything away, but those of you at the who've already read it know exactly what I'm talking about. I figured out what his name, the significance of the main character's name by the end of the second book. And again, they haven't told you yet. So I'm like, I'm just not that smart, Jim. Okay, Mr. Butcher, I'm not that smart. I know everybody out there is in the same boat I am. Please just confirm what we know. But it hasn't happened yet. But I still
I can just see it now, huh, Russ? Signed copy showing up at
That's funny.
Jim Butcher would like you. Craig's a real big fan, Jim.
I am, and I
send it over.
No, I love it. I cannot complain. I love it. Just in case I'm getting a signed copy.
You want to send me more. You're awesome.
No, I'm not soliciting. I'm just saying. I'm setting.
Yeah.
I'm laying the groundwork so I don't have
you
to
read your address now.
Shut up. And those of you who are in the same boat I am, and you're 40 or over, be very careful about catching a cold. What's that like? You tell me. You're the vanguard. Because last week I got a cold and I was coughing a little bit, and a lymph node under my left arm swelled up a little bit, which happens when you get a cold sometimes. Right. I ended up spending 5 hours in the emergency room with a full cardiac workup that made me into a mano lantern because they had to shave giant sections of my chest for the EKG leads. And the whole time I'm going, like, I cannot tell you how many people walked by going, "You're okay, right? Don't be nervous. This is all just in case." I'm like, just in case I'm dying from a heart attack and don't know it? Okay. And so it was just a.
So you go in there the same thing, and you're 25. It's like, hey, he's 25.
Yeah,
He's probably
exactly.
He's
like,
Right, they're like, that's gas. Go.
Yeah, it's a lymph node. Get out of here.
You're 40. It's like, give the man a workup. He's probably going to die from 30 different things right now.
Exactly. Oh, it's so.
You go in there with your 25, like, yeah, we're going to test them for STDs. Get out of here, kid.
And because I know what the emergency room's like,
Right.
I brought the Call of Cthulhu or the H.P. Lovecraft book with me. And they were going very fast, which is the only thing that alarmed me. So I wasn't waiting. They were like, "Oh, come right this way. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's do that."
Crash cart sitting next to you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, they kept bringing in cards. They're like, they hooked me up for an IV. All they needed was blood, but they hooked me up for a full IV just in case.
He's going to be here all week.
I'm like, seriously?
Guy's gonna be dead.
I see it now, Russ. He just wanted some quiet reading time.
Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't get any quiet reading time. People kept coming in.
It shocked you.
They
Probably asked you knew Dad, this more West to get all week.
Yeah, exactly. You know they actually wheel the X-ray machine to you now?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
now.
I didn't know that. Yeah. So that was that has nothing to do with gaming
Pretty
whatsoever.
soon, the X-ray
but,
machine will just be on the iPad.
That's true. That's true.
I'll just scan you. And
Hey, there you go. However, I do now know that my heart is very, very healthy.
that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, that's me for other.
Right. Cool. Well, I'll try to keep this short because we're going long on achievements. But playing more StarCraft, getting even farther, very slowly, but I'm getting there. Just finally finished. I'll just say the memory missions. Wow, are they cool? Very Ender's Game. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah. Also, had to pick up this week, of course, probably the biggest video game release of the year, Halo Reach.
Yes.
Just picked that up. It's freaking awesome. Having a great time playing co-op with my friends. Getting very little sleep, but having a good time with it. Special shout out to Code Bites, listener of the show, who just was waiting to pick my kids up from Taekwondo this evening.
Yeah.
And I just turned it on for a second. Code Bites is on. He's like, hey, Russ, want to play a quick match? I'll show you some secrets. Knocked out like 100 points in achievements with the guy in like 15 minutes. I'm like, you're awesome. And that was it. So thanks, Code
Holy
Bites, for
cow.
that. Yeah, he was great. So that was cool. And I'm reading a book also.
Yeah.
Wait. Really reading it? You mean
No,
listening
listening to it. Listening to it. It's
Okay,
called.
that doesn't count as reading.
I'm listening to a book.
Anyway.
And it's called Bone Crusher.
Yeah.
And it's actually really good. It's very steampunky, and it's about pre like 1880s, like Civil War time era,
Yeah.
and something's happened with a giant drilling machine, and most of Seattle has fallen under sort of collapsed.
Yeah.
And this gas comes up, and they had to build walls around it to keep the gas. The gas is heavier than air,
Yeah.
so they build this wall around the city to keep the gas in, and everybody outside is sort of like miserable, but everybody inside, the gas like eventually kills you and turns you into zombies.
Of course.
But they've got all kinds of steampunk stuff. So like people living under the city with like pipes going up with machines that pump the air down, and there's airships flying over dropping people in, and it's really, really cool.
Wow.
Really interesting book. And it has a very similar thing I was just reading through where they lead you to believe this one thing is true. And they set you up this whole way. And you're like, okay, it's true, obviously it's true. But then they kind of twist it at the end, which is kind of neat. So it's kind of fun. But I kind of felt like they were leaving it too long. And even when they twist it, you're still not sure. It's still on the edge. It's kind of neat.
Okay.
So.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm digging it. It's really good.
who's
When I
it
twisted,
by?
I'm not sure either.
I have to look that up. I forget.
No.
Wait, it's on here on my technology thing. I'm going to check my iPhone. for a second.
My technology
I'll look it up
thing.
when it goes. Yeah, my Gizmo.
I'm also reading Sabbat Worlds, the newest thing by Dan Abnett. It's an anthology, and it's awesome.
By Sherry Priest.
Oh.
I don't know if you know her.
No.
Narrated by Will Wheaton and Katie Redding. Or Reading.
Will Wheaton?
Yes.
Seriously?
He's actually very good. He's actually very good. He's a lot of good voices.
Fanboy.
No, he's good.
Fanboy.
Not as much as Nathan Fillion, which I just discovered, by the way, that you can unlock different voices for your character in Halo Reach.
Yeah.
And Nathan Fillion's voice is one of them. So I'm like, I got to get 1,000 credits. Now get Nathan Fillion's voice.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I'm
Cool.
a total Nathan Fillion man crush.
You know what'd be really cool is if you could really get Nathan Fillion's voice. Like,
In real life.
Like a
In
spray.
life, yeah.
Talk like Nathan Fillion. Yeah. So also, I'm doing
I
some.
aim to misbehave.
Now that-
I don't know what that accent was.
As Craig mentioned earlier, I via some shenanigans, I've got an iPad now.
Yes.
I've got an iPhone.
Yes, indeed.
Some friends of ours have Androids, and I'm starting to experiment with some of these things people have talked about with how these pieces of technology are going to revolutionize how you play games and how you can support your games. So I'm experimenting with some of that. You heard a little bit about it in last time's news, and as I find more of these things out, I'm going to bring more of it up and see if it really helps you out or not. So far, my theory's mixed, but they're interesting. It's interesting to play with them. So that's pretty much what I'm doing in other.
I've done the same thing. I've gone backwards in time. I've taken away my data plan from my iPhone because I'm like, do I really need to be able to have 3G to check my email, especially now where I don't run my own business? And I really don't.
Wi-Fi's
do I miss
everywhere.
it? Yeah, but I think it's just because I was addicted to having it to begin with. And of course, the cool thing about my iPhone is it still works like an iPod, which is to say I can use it, at a Starbucks or anywhere where there's Wi-Fi.
Right.
So My wife is here. Yes, honey.
Well, you never really checked your email anyway.
I'm going to be a while. No.
Thank you.
So where was I? Oh, I finished reading. Oh, no, I didn't. Yeah, I finished reading the third book in the Dark Heresy series. Craig, I am
novels?
loving those books.
The
It's
novels?
so awesome.
Really? I haven't read those. They good?
What am I talking about then? The Horus Heresy books.
Oh, Horus Heresy. Oh.
Horus Heresy.
See, I did not do what Russ did.
He totally did. You should see his face.
No,
he was totally,
that's a lie. That's a lie, and that actually makes you a bad human being, Mr. Wakeland.
It does. I know.
Trying to throw that back on me. There is a Dark Heresy series of books. I didn't know if you'd read that because somebody had asked me about them.
I thought you were picking up for
You're loving those, right?
I thought you were picking up for
Rafe?
mispronouncing heresy.
Yeah, I'm really loving them. The guys who wrote
Let that
it,
one go.
because it's 3 different authors, and it's just
It's their best. The first 3 are definitely their best.
So immersive, and I like
authors.
you really feel for each of the characters. I think what I love the most, and this isn't a spoiler, is like you always saw how people of the chaos in the 40K world were always like, no, we really believe in our side. We're not just evil. It's like the Emperor's bad, and he was trying to do bad things.
Yeah.
And they really get that across, you know?
Yep, they do.
Yeah, it's just
There's really
cool.
only one group in that whole story that knows what's going on and knows they're the bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody else is just like, oh no, if we follow him, we're doing the right thing, but it also coincidentally lets us do whatever we want to do.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just so good.
Yeah.
I'm also reading a book called Blink. I don't know if you've. It's the same guy who I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember.
Blank about Blink.
It's kind of a book like Blink. Blink's all about how, as human beings, we make snap judgments.
Oh yeah.
And how oftentimes those snap judgments are correct. Snap judgments is the wrong term that has a bad.
First impressions.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Almost taken in by the unconscious. You know.
Yeah.
The thing I want to kind of rave about a little bit is people know Russ and I have gaming rigs. I have a doghouse. And I was getting an error message where I couldn't boot up. I called them up. They had a 24-hour answering service, which I thought was wicked cool. And they're like, okay, one of the techs will get back to you within working hours. It was a Saturday. Tech got back to me. They're in a different time zone. Got back to me like 10 a.m. my time. So it must have been, I think, either 7 or 8 their time. They walked me through opening up the case, and they're like, yep, sounds like you've got a bad USB something in the front. And they're like, do you feel comfortable doing it rather than shipping the case to us? I'm like, yeah, I think I do. Like, okay, we'll ship you out a new part. Just like that. No, when did you get your machine, and is it under warranty? And
Can I see the cover?
this particular guy had no idea. Some of the guys over there at Doghouse know him from the D6G, but this guy had no clue. So I don't think it was because, do you know who I am? So I just thought that was cool that I had a problem, and they just shipped it right out.
Oh, good.
Well, glad you had a good customer experience.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. So the
Emphasis on the word
implication-
customer.
Right.
Yeah, the medical implication of me being over 40 is I've had this like minor. This is one of those stories, guys, where it's not gross or anything like that. It's not bad, but it's one of those as a guy you're going to go, oh. So I had this like little minor, I don't know, pain like kind of up in my intestine. And I thought I had like, I don't know, pinched intestine or something. It's been going on for like 8 months. No big deal.
Yeah.
It doesn't even hurt. Sometimes it flares up. Sometimes it doesn't. I figured that, we're all WebMDs now. I figured I'd have diverculitis or something, which I didn't want. So I go to my physical today and I tell the doctor, she's like, okay.
We had achievements in medicine. I have to add that to a category here.
Yeah. So she's poking it. She's like, does that hurt? I'm like, no, not really. She's like, okay, stand up for a minute. So she kind of traces her hand down and she goes right to my pubic bone. And she's like, tell me if this. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like,
Dear-
tell me if this. And I'm like, ah. And she like pushes the super sensitive muscle.
Uh-huh.
So, and then she's like, how about this? And I'm like, ah. And how about this? I'm like, ow. So apparently I've had a fucking hernia.
Dear
down there.
Penthouse, I never thought those letters were real
I know.
until they happened to me.
See,
I think I
feel
missed
bad
the
'cause
point.
The only problem I have in being over 40 is that when I eat jalapenos now, I get bad gas. No problem.
Okay. Anyway, is that it?
Well, I gotta feel like I gotta say something.
Is that it for achievements? Are we done for achievements?
So, no, I might have to have surgery down there
Oh,
now.
jeez.
Okay, well.
Wow.
Want that?
That's bad.
All right.
You should go for a second
Okay.
opinion. It's not like the first
Give
time.
him an achievement for being over 40 and maybe having surgery after an encounter with a female doctor.
All right, nice.
Okay.
All right,
Achievements are done.
From the dawn of time we came, rolling dice down through the centuries. We are the D6 generation.
We stand, and here we
Tired of pen and paper? Take your game to the next level with Army Builder and Hero Lab from Lone Wolf Development. Army Builder has been the standard for Army construction software for miniature gamers since 1998. And coming out in July 2009, Army Builder 3.2 includes PDF support, streamlined user interface, mobile device output, and lots more. And for RPG players, Hero Lab is the award-winning character creation and management software for players and GMs alike. Hero Lab supports all the major RPGs from D&D to World of Darkness. With Army Builder and Hero Lab, point-and-click simplicity lets you spend less time prepping and more time playing. Download a free demo from our website, www.wolflair.com. Discover for yourself why 100,000 gamers have chosen Lone Wolf Development.
And now, what's in the news, which is brought to you by the Tabletop Fix. You like wargaming, especially sci-fi and fantasy? You don't want endless announcements, but just a picture and a link to follow if you like what you see? Sick and tired hearing about just the big guys in the news, but rarely about anything else in the wide field of wargaming miniatures? Then visit www.ttfix.blogspot.com and get your daily tabletop fix. Sounds cool. And now, the news. Hollywood wanted you to know about this one. Dead Rising 2, Case Zero, has broken all kinds of records on Xbox Live. You probably know what Dead Rising 2 is, which is, of course, the great zombie fighting game. Case Zero was a special Xbox Live prequel title that you could download for a small fee and get a taste of Dead Rising 2 before the game came out, and then your actions in Dead Rising 2 Case Zero also progress into the main game. Apparently, this little concept was a big winner as it broke all kinds of download history on Xbox Live. The full game will be out September 28th. Speaking of big video game news, probably the biggest video game news this past week for sure was the release of Halo Reach. According to Bungie, Halo Reach has already surpassed the all-time highest record for Halo 3 concurrent users on Xbox Live. Woohoo! That was done in the first week. Oh, yeah, and I wanted to say something to all the people playing. What is it, Wakeland? Well, I just feel bad for playing on live with them and that I'm not talking to them all the time. Is that because maybe your party is full and you can't? Yeah, that's the problem. I can't talk to them all the time. All right, well, I think what Wakeland's trying to say is that sometimes when he's on Xbox Live, his party of 8 is full, and if another fan of the show jumps on to play Halo with them, you can't always hear him talking because he's in party chat. So apologies for that. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Thank you, Wakeland. Moving on to board game news, Fantasy Flight Games is excited to announce the upcoming release of The Hobbit, the board game. Of course, it'll take place in Middle-earth for 2 to 5 players, and on the journey to Lonely Mountain, you're going to follow Bilbo Baggins, and you're going to give him guidance and protection. Oh, yeah, but the question is, will it feature this music?
The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said. The chances, the changes are all yours to make. The mold of your life is in your hands to break.
Wait, Wakeland. Normally I disagree with your crazy musical interludes here, but clearly the best song would be this one.
The war! 15 birds in 5 fir trees. Their feathers were fanned in a fiery breeze. But funny little birds, they had no wings. Oh, what shall we do with the funny little things? Oh, what shall we do with the funny little things? Roast them alive or stew them in a pot. Fry them, boil them, eat them hot. Bake and toast them, fry and roast them till beards blaze and eyes glaze, till hair swells and skins crack.
Oh, that's pretty good, but what about this one?
Where there's a wit, there's a way. Where there's a wit, there's a way. Where there's a whip, we don't want to go to war today. But the Lord of the Lashes has nay, nay.
All right. Now you're just cheating, Wakeland. That's not even from The Hobbit. It's from The Lord of the Rings. Well, it was the same. No, that's enough of that. Let's get on back to the news here. Okay, back to the news. How does he do that? Get me off track like that. Anyway, WizKids has announced an interesting new board game based on the movie A Christmas Story. Yep, it's a Christmas Story board game, and it's not a lot of details yet, but it does feature pre-painted plastics, including Ralphie in his bunny suit. How can you go wrong, really? Days of Wonder responds to their sharpest critics. We are not killing children. Turns out that some extremely bad reporting in the UK stated that the game Small World caused a mother to get so addicted to it that she neglected her pets and her children. Turns out the game Small World, talked about in the article, which attributed the game to Days of Wonder, was actually talking about a different Small World online MMO-style game, not the Days of Wonder product Small World. So avoiding that confusion there. I know a lot of our listeners also tweeted that story as well, and it indeed was not the Days of Wonder product. That'd be a pretty hardcore board game to get that addicted to it, even on the iPad. And speaking of the iPad, Wickham thought it might be fun to let a few people know about more great board games that have made the jump over to the iPhone and or iPad. We've recently reported games like Carcassonne, Zombie Dice, Small World, of course, on the iPad, and even Roll Through the Ages are all available on the iPhone or iPad in some form. Recently, they've also added Kingsburg. That's right, the great board game published by Fantasy Flight is actually, I think the original designer has put the iPhone version up, but it's a very good translation. Check it out over there. It is, I believe, misspelled, however. I think they left the G out, spelling it Kinsburg, and that was a typo. So if you're having trouble finding it on the iTunes Store, try without the G. The other big one that just came out is Naroshima Hex is now out as an iPhone application also. This is a great little board game featuring hexes that is a combat hex system, sort of a mini combat game. Very cool. No dice involved. A really cute little game. And if you've never checked it out before, you can get a great demo version of it on the iPhone for cheap. And again, we don't advocate that these are good replacements for board games, simply that they are really the ultimate travel additions. And all of these games feature pass and play, meaning that you take your move, hand it to your friend. Great when you're on the airport or in the airplane or to the bus stop or just stuck waiting for something to do. And that's what's in the news.
Are you having trouble fitting your whole army into one carrying case? Ever had your heavy centerpiece models break through the sides of their foam tray to scrape against their neighbors? You'll never have to worry about any of this again with Battle Foam. The trays from Battle Foam will hold over 30% more models than any standard tray, and they make foam to fit any box, including all manufacturers' carrying cases. What's more, they will custom cut your foam trays to fit any miniature. The boys at battlefoam.com can even personalize each tray by etching Army logos, personal text, or images right onto the foam. So go to battlefoam.com right now and pick up the best foam on the market. You've spent more time and money than anyone wants to think about on your models. Shouldn't they be as safe as you can make them? Battlefoam.com. Hooah!
Welcome back, and now we're very excited to have with us Kevin Clark from the Warstore. How you doing, Kevin?
I am doing well. How's it going, guys?
Good. Glad to have you on
Welcome
the show.
aboard, Kevin.
We're finally excited to have Warstore people on the show.
Finally, after all this time.
Now, Kevin, we always ask everyone on the show this very simple question. Are you now, or have you ever been, a gamer?
Absolutely.
Please elaborate. What was your first game? What did you start with?
The first game I think I ever played was actually a role-playing game called Living Steel.
Ooh.
If you've ever seen it, it's an old school sort of sci-fi thing. And it was a very complicated experience that involved playing like 10 characters each in a colony and sort of a pseudo-post-apocalyptic thing on another plane. It was a very odd intro experience to role-playing.
Wow. It does sound pretty hardcore. Now, did you stay with role-playing games for a while, or did you move on to anything else?
I did some gaming stuff for a while and then moved into miniatures gaming, played Magic like most everybody on Earth, and played some 40K and never really got into fantasy and all that business.
Nice. Did you ever get into the board gaming side of things, or you stick with miniatures pretty much?
I've got a closet full of board games, so yes.
Yes. What are some of your favorites? Anything recent people might have heard of, or any? What are some favorites?
I'm a big fan of Descent. I think it's probably one of the better board games out there, sort of bridging the gap between your tabletop experience for like role playing and then just a basic dungeon crawl kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that, and I like the strategy games, Type Iron, and I tend to play a lot of Fantasy Flight stuff.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
With Descent, Kevin, do you like playing the one-shot dungeons or the different campaigns, like Road to Legends or Sea of Blood?
I tend to play as the Overlord, so I don't rightly care what it is, because
it's kind of a good point, actually.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if we're playing a one-shot dungeon or a campaign. It tends to just be the same experience for everybody.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get involved with the Warstore?
Yeah, tell us.
I got involved with the Warstore. I had been hanging out with the guys at conventions for quite a few years, and when I was working with Privateer Press, and when I parted ways with Privateer, Don over at the Warstore had given me a call and was like, "Hey, we'll see if there's something you can do with us," and well, it all just kind of went from there. So I've been working with them since the end of last year, and helping them out with doing convention things and a bunch of back end work and all that kind of business.
Nice. What exactly do you do for them? Is it like you said, back end work? What is that kind of what's a day in your life like? At the Warstore?
Database stuff, so just maintaining the Warstore. I think has something like 89,000 items on it or something like that.
Wow!
And I am among those that increase the number of items on the store, and do all the database maintenance that comes along with having 89,000 items.
So you're kind of like
database.
So you're kind of like database tech guru. Is that kind of your job there, along with entering new data?
Yeah,
like that?
I'd call it database tech guru light.
Light, okay. All right, that's fair. Cool, that's pretty neat.
I have some.
And then when we decided we were going to do the Warstore Weekend, it was just another an opportunity to put together events and stuff. And since I've got a little experience doing that, it seemed logical for me to sort of head that up.
Go ahead, Rafe.
Now, as events coordinator, I mean, when I remember I first got to know you, you didn't even know me. It was one of the TempleCon conventions. I think you were there in your role as Privateer Press. I don't know the right term, but events coordinator. And what I really liked is it was my first hardcore, which is where you kind of play Fast and Furious, and you were like, had this big booming voice, and you got everybody riled up, and you kind of talked like a Cadorian sergeant or something like that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I remember your Privateer. I don't really surf the forums that much, but back in the day I did, and I kind of remember your avatar was this cool little like cartoon graphic with like it was like modeled after you like chomping on a cigar.
Yeah.
So what was it like?
Sketch Chris Walton did of me.
Oh yeah, I mean that thing's cool. So I think anybody who back in the day will probably remember that. Did you always begin in events, or was your presence on the forum part of events? Like I never understood the pathway to events coordinator.
When I started at Privateer, I actually started in packing, and in the packing department way back when Privateer was located in a little tiny box social room in Brian Snowdy's condo building. Mm-hmm. It was like 8 years ago, I guess, almost now.
Wow.
Way back at the beginning. And I went from working in the packing department to working in the casting department to managing the packing department and the shipping department and all of that. Eventually, I moved into managing playtest.
Yeah.
And from playtest, I went to managing organized play and event stuff, which is what I did primarily at conventions.
Okay.
Cool.
And that's what your role is. And that's what your role is now over at the Warstore, along with the other part you just said?
To a degree. I mean, we obviously go to a lot less things and don't really run events, but for Warstore Weekend, my job has been finding all of the people to run events and getting all of that stuff organized.
I was going to say, that's a pretty good segue, because it sounds like you didn't used to run events, the Warstore didn't, but now it sounds like the Warstore is starting to run events more and more. There was
it's true.
The little Malifaux event at TempleCon, last year, and then now the Warstore Weekend. So how did the Warstore Weekend sort of evolve and come to be? Whose brainchild was that, and how did you get sort of roped into being that guy?
The brainchild was Neil, for sure, as with most of the brainchilds of the Warstore.
Right.
Neil has been going to shows on and off for years, and they're always such a good time, and people always have such a good time. He's like, there's no reason we shouldn't throw one of these because we should be able to throw a good time. You know, I mean, I like going to parties. That's a cool party. Why don't we throw a party? Kind of, you know, it's pretty straightforward. How I got involved was really just being there at the right place at the right time. Things just sort of lined up nicely that I was available and I'm there and I have the experience to help. So that's what brought me into the fold.
So how did you
of making this thing go?
How did you start the process? I mean, so Neil comes up and says, "Look, I think we should have a big Warstore type con event. Make it so, right?" So where do you begin with something like that?
Well, I fortunately have a little bit of experience with conventions, so we know where to look at things. You got to figure out how many people you want to try to get and find a venue that can support that kind of space. I had just come off helping out run Kingdom Con with Ross Thompson out in California last year, which gave me another avenue of what to look at. So basically, we sat down and tried to figure out how much we wanted to do, find space that would hold what we wanted to do, figure out how many thousands of dollars it's going to cost,
right,
and then get enough people to show up so that we can do it again next year.
Right. and then have you found that was it challenging to sell folks on a new con and try to get people to come, or you found it's been pretty easy, or how does that experience been?
Generally speaking, almost all the hype that I see about the show that I don't write is all positive. People are just excited to get together, and they say kind of the same thing we did, which is, you know, we should be able to throw a good party. I mean, it should be a good time, and I have no reason to think it won't be. We have a great list of stuff going on and a great hotel to be working with. That we're going to have lots of space and good rooms, and it'll be a good quality event.
Cool. So we'll go ahead. Where is it being held, and what's the hotel you guys are working with?
The convention is going to be in New Jersey, and of course I don't remember the name of the hotel right off the top of my head.
Oh.
That's right. I got a question for you while you Google it or look it up. The one thing I thought was kind of neat is I like the concept that it's a retailer having a convention, because I was kind of like, ooh, that's kind of interesting, you know. And I wondered if that presented any different kind of challenges, like are vendors going to be there, or is this we'd like to give back to our customers type of con, or is it not even, does it not even have a focus point? Like, I like the idea that it's a retailer holding a con. I think that's pretty neat.
I think the focus is genuinely a celebration of people getting together and having a good time, enjoying doing what they do. The aspect that we're a retailer actually kind of gives us a little bit more room to work with things, because we have an established community to communicate with, because we have an established sort of product base and all that kind of stuff. It made it really easy to figure out what we wanted to promote, you know, the people we wanted to immediately contact for running events at the show. We have a lot of existing relationships with manufacturers, so it was easy for us to reach out and say, hey, this is us, you know, we're doing this thing, and we want you to be able to promote your products at our thing. Come do stuff. So that made it really easy to do. Overall.
And the name of the hotel would it be the Crown Plaza?
It is the Crown Plaza.
Crown Plaza in the Meadowlands. Cool.
The Secaucus Meadowlands.
Nice.
In the northern part of New Jersey.
Yes.
Just outside of New York.
And this is coming up pretty quick, right? It's October, right?
It'll be October 22nd through 24th.
Nice. So it's getting very soon. So how's attendance looking? Are you getting a lot of pre-registrations? Is it looking pretty good? I mean, in terms of like,
absolutely.
Is it booking? Should people get in quick?
Is going to be closing October 8th.
Oh wow!
That includes the hotel rates.
Yeah.
And we look to be having a full building.
Wow, that's awesome. So basically, it's pretty much going to sell out, and you want to get in there. You want to make sure you register now, right? Pretty much.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I don't think we'll sell out, but we'll definitely, be packed shoulder to shoulder.
Great. Oh, good. Well, that's awesome. That's great for a first time like that. That's amazing. definitely seems like you know what you're doing there, which is awesome. So give
What's
us some
featured? Like,
Yeah.
is there a specific game focus, or is it like Dreadnought Arena Combat for 40K, or is there no particular gaming focus?
The gaming focus is generally speaking miniatures. We wanted to get some more board games and stuff like that represented, but we just ran out of space. After all the miniatures people we contacted kind of were like, okay, here's what we're going to do, and now we're like, well, we don't have room for anything else.
That's good. I guess it's a good
we've got
problem.
some open play space where I know there'll be some guys from Steve Jackson running some events, and we'll have some demos and things like that for a variety of other things, but we just don't have the kind of event space set aside. Primarily, we're going to be looking at probably 40K events and privateer press events are going to be dominating the big event room. We have a slew of what I would call one-off events or basically custom games where people have made some things and they go to cons and play them. I mean, you always see people playing those great homebrew games, right? And so we've got a ton of those that are going to be running all weekend. There's a whole room dedicated to that kind of stuff, and it's going to be full the whole time, basically, from right out of the gate. So any kind of variety of bizarre thing you want to find to do, there will be something to do.
Oh, that's cool. That's good to know.
What single event?
As well as
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't interrupt you.
We'll also have in the vending room where we have all of our vendors. We also have a bunch of demo tables that are going to be set up in there for companies to be running demos. So we'll be running Hearts of War Machine demos and 40K demos, and a bunch of indie games are coming out, and they're going to be running stuff.
Now, I wanted to ask you about that. So you said I was going to ask you, I was thinking, well, is there going to be a vendor hall? Because it's kind of being run by a vendor. So how does that work? Will
Especially a vendor that sells
a lot of stuff,
a multitude of things versus, I don't know, Games Workshop just selling miniatures,
The vendor hall is going to be, the Warstore will be there vending. And for anybody who's seen the Warstore at a con, you find our products priced the same as at the con as they are on the website. So that's its own thing. Aside from us, Armorcast is going to be there. Gale Force 9 is going to be there, showing off stuff. And Matt Sable is going to be there with some of his amazing tables.
Yep.
And a couple other people who are just trying to get lined up right now.
Nice.
That will hopefully all come together in the next week since we're aggressively running out of time.
Is there anything in particular you're going to be running there that you're most proud of? Like, is there a single event or effort that took a lot of work that you kind of were really excited that it came together for the show?
The whole show really is just the pinnacle of what you just said. To be more specific, getting the stuff lined up with Privateer Press and working with Norbert, who I think you guys know.
Right, yeah.
To get the events all lined up with them has been an absolute dream. He basically ran it from, hey, I want to do this, to, okay, it's ready. And
Nice.
and we had zero issues with anything. It's just been wonderful and awesome and amazing. And we have a great schedule of events running 24 hours a night of the con from Friday straight through till Sunday.
Awesome.
In the afternoon when we close up. It's going to be awesome. The Flames of War events that are going to be happening are going to be great. The opportunity to have Jason Biaki out there, who's going to be running the 40K stuff on Saturday
awesome.
and Sunday.
I remember that.
Wow,
name.
Jason's running a 40K event live at your tournament?
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
When was the last time?
A huge draw.
When was the last time he ran something like that? I remember Biaki running.
The last I heard is that it's been quite a while.
Yeah, just listeners who don't know, Jason used to run the grand tournaments for GW back in the day.
And he was a big, you saw him in White Dwarf back in the day all the time.
First of all, the guy's an amazing
like
terrain maker, so if you ever get a chance to talk to him, ask him about that. But he's just really fun and funny and boisterous, and he's everything you'd want in a tournament organizer. So to see him out there running a 40K event again, well, that's like a flashback. That's awesome. That is a big get.
Yeah, he happens to be buddies with some of the guys that work at the Warstore, and they contacted him when the other stuff we were looking to do fell through, which is why it's so convenient that he happened to be available and got on board with us, because
that's cool.
We didn't have anybody else lined up, so it was great.
That's really neat. Wow,
those are the big huge space consumption things. Those three manufacturers are going to dominate our large event hall. We have about 15,000 square feet of play space.
Wow.
That we're taking up for the convention. So
you guys don't do anything small over there at the Warstore. This is some serious business over here. This isn't some little startup thing.
Our logo is a big Viking guy with a giant club. Why would it be something small?
Right.
That's right.
Which we now know is for purple people eaters, right? So it's got to be good.
Exactly. Wait.
The questions I have might be more appropriate for Neil. I don't know if you know, but what's one of the things that, I mean, we've always known Neil because he's kind of more in our backyard. I don't know him personally, but know of him. And, it's almost like anybody these days could have, like, heck, I could probably clean out my closet and think I'm an internet gaming store, but that's not the Warstore. I mean, from day one, the Warstore has always been able to really deliver. And I just wondered, did he always have that mission statement? What made him different that makes him around and not just, another person with internet stock?
I don't know why Neil. I don't know the beginning, but I know what I know as having been a consumer for many years, and why I would always suggest to people that for years I've always said, if your local store can't get what you want in 2 weeks for you, go to the Warstore.
Right.
Because the Warstore will get it to you in 2 weeks, and you give your store the opportunity to order it. They have to order it and get it to you, but you should always support where you play.
Right.
But if you can't get if they don't have what you need, go to the Warstore, and they will have what you need.
Right.
And the thing that always shines to me is that if you have a problem and you call the Warstore to deal with your problem, you have about a 50-50 chance that Neil's the one that answers the phone. Because his decided job at the Warstore is customer service. That's what he does.
Ah, interesting.
That's what he wants to do. That's who he wants to be. So, the reason I think Neil is so successful, from my perspective, having just started working with the guys, is because he takes care of people. And he takes care of everybody who should get taken care of. And that's why, is that, the Warstore takes care of you like you would expect your local store to take care of you. And it's not some guy in his garage who might just disappear overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Might not answer his phone because he's, in the house playing Xbox or something.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's definitely the feeling I got from dealing with.
That's the feeling I get too. Yeah,
it's awesome, and they're really
are.
He's
going to be at the Warstore Weekend, hanging out and playing games and generally having a good time. So,
and he seems very humble.
First con,
too.
I think he is.
Yeah,
he is absolutely a great guy, and he makes it. He really, if you read his apology letter the other day on Tabletop Gaming News, he really makes it easy to work for him sometimes.
I didn't read that. What was that about?
Yeah, I don't want to drag it through.
I just because it got mentioned.
You go look it up, you'll find it. And,
right.
Okay.
And
if anybody wants to see,
some,
they can look. Gotcha. Yeah, no problem.
It was all there. There was some drama from Gen Con, and he put it to bed well.
I have a request. I have very fond memories when and I know you have the power to do this, Kevin. A certain person named Russ Wakeland and his wife Nicole and John, they made this store called Daka Daka. And when they made the store, they produced these tape measures. They're just these simple plastic tape measures. And they said Daka Daka on them. And we all have very fond. I don't even have one anymore. Mine broke. And I think Ragnar is the only person I know. Russ, do you still have your Daka Daka tape measures?
I still have a couple, yeah. I guard them.
Okay. My point to all this story is I'm at TempleCon, and I see the Warstore, and I go, I want to get a Warstore tape measure. I don't know why, but Kevin, I kid you not, I was not the only person in there who were asking for tape measures. For whatever reason, we didn't have enough tape measures. These are strangers to me. And the salesmen are like, oh, here you go. We got GW. They were those clunky red ones. And we're like, no, we don't want those. And do you guys have any Warstore tape measures? And the guy's like, you're like the 25th person that's asked me for that. So Neil needs to make some Warstore tape measures.
With Vikings on them.
With Vikings, yes. And the kind Russ had was just this simple, dinky little plastic one, but it was perfect because it was light. I don't know.
There you go.
I just think Neil needs to make those.
I will run that up the flagpole and see what happens.
And I'm not exaggerating when I say I was standing there and 3 people were like, yeah, I want that too.
So let's get back. Right. Let's get back to the Warstore Weekend there, Kevin. I think it's really exciting. Can you give us a rundown on it? So, what do people need to do if they're thinking, okay, I want to sign up for this? What website do they go to? What's admission going to be like? And is there still a shot at the hotel right now if they do everything today?
And will there be Warstore takeovers? But okay, go ahead.
If they do everything today, they need to go to warstoreweekend.com, thewarstoreweekend.com. The is part of the name. It's mandatory.
Right.
And there's a registration link right at the top. And from there, you can see where you can click to get your passes. The full weekend pre-order pass, this is the price that's available up through the 8th, is $50.
That's very affordable. Pass. Yeah, that's a good price.
The day passes at the door will be $15 for Friday and Sunday and $30 for Saturday.
Okay.
And the full weekend pass will be $60 at the door.
That's still not bad.
The hotel room rates you can get still right now, again, up until the 8th. And the hotel rate is, I think, $119 a night.
That's not bad either.
Which isn't bad.
Yeah. And hey, you can make a weekend of it with your family. Go gaming and then go check out New York City. You're right there.
Yeah, you can make a weekend of it in Secaucus.
Right.
It's awesome.
It's true.
I was thinking the Beastie Boys song, I'm from Secaucus, you're from Manhattan. You're jealous of me because your girlfriend is cat, and that's what I was thinking when I hear Secaucus.
Where do you get this?
I grew up down in that area, so I actually know Secaucus.
Right. Well, very good, Kevin. That sounds awesome, and I can't wait to see the results of the weekend. Sadly, I was really hoping to be able to go, but my schedule conflicts. But it really sounds like a great event. I think it's awesome to be able to put together such an amazing first run event for the Warstore here with all this stuff, and I think it's going to be phenomenal. And best of luck to you and the Warstore and to everyone that goes to the weekend. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's looking to be absolutely phenomenal. All the major names. We actually just signed Soda Pop Miniatures up.
Oh, sweet.
Who I think you might have seen at Gen Con.
I did. They have some crazy looking stuff. Yeah, they're cool looking.
They're going to be there selling Super Dungeon Explorer,
nice.
Super Dungeon Explorer models, as well as some of their Relic Knight models, which will all be very cool. I think we'll be running demos too of that stuff.
Oh, I wanted to ask you too. I meant to before we let you go. Is there any other? Do you have any other side projects going on right now? You're doing? Or
I was going to ask that too. Yeah.
Speaking of Soda Pop Miniatures, John Caddis is an old buddy of mine who I used to briefly work with at Privateer before he got a job at Microsoft. And he's the guy who owns Soda Pop Miniatures, runs Soda Pop Miniatures with Deke and Chris. And we had an opportunity when he was starting to work on a game. So they started the Relic Knight line just to be a cool anime miniatures line, because there wasn't anything sort of like that less serious but super cool anime looking stuff.
Right.
There's all the serious anime stuff. You get great models like Infinity, things like that. But there really isn't anything that's sort of like the Beer and Pretzels anime, sort of sillier but still cool stuff. So he set out to kind of do that. And the first question he gets constantly for the first year they're doing models is, when's the game coming out? When's the game coming out?
Right.
So like, well, I guess we should do a game, which is a common tale amongst many miniatures companies,
right.
I think.
Right.
And so we're sitting down and having dinner one night talking about stuff. And I'm like, well, John, me and Matt could write a game for you. It shouldn't even be that hard. I mean, we have some cool ideas, and we could just sit down and crank it out, and we'll make a game. He's like, all right, well, let's go ahead and do that then. I'm like, oh, well, I guess we will then.
Cool.
Put my money where my mouth is.
So you're writing the rule set for Soda Pop Miniatures now. How far along is the project?
We actually just started the first tiers of alpha testing, and we're going to be rolling into a closed beta in the next month, most likely.
Oh, very cool.
All the core rules are done, and we're filling out the faction lists, and the core mechanics and everything are all lined up real nice. And it's going to look to be a really fast-paced, scenario-driven, like high-energy, very tactical miniatures game. I'm pretty proud of it right now. So
can you give us a little?
Get destroyed in the next couple months.
Give us a little tidbit. So what's the hook? Like Malifaux uses cards, and War Machine's got boosting, and what's the cool little doohickey with Soda Pop's rule set? Can you give us a little hint? Or you want to?
So there's three things I would point at. I would say thing one is we aren't going to be. It's a diceless system, but it doesn't use a poker deck.
Okay.
There's actually zero numerical comparison resolution mechanic. It's all binary. Does happen or doesn't happen. So in that regard, it's very quick and clean. The second thing I would say is that the game is very centered around a high amount of terrain and using terrain to your advantage. So line of sight is the key component. Therefore, all the ranges in the game are open. If you can see it, you can shoot it.
Nice.
And the third and most important thing, I think, is that there's no rounds in the game. Once the game starts, it goes until it's done.
Oh, that's interesting.
There's no reset point.
Interesting.
So it just when the ball starts rolling, and then it gets to the end of where it's going.
Oh, cool! Now you got me curious.
That's really cool.
Are you going to be demoing
this is anime type of models, or like what are the?
Absolutely.
What's the setting?
SodaPopMiniatures.com. You can see a handful of them.
Yeah, they're crazy looking. Cool.
The game is going to be called Relic Knights, which is sort of the name of the special characters in the thing. They're all Relic Knights. They have their little anime pet thingies that follow them around.
I remember,
if you've seen the website, the little bunny rabbit.
Yeah, from Gen Con, it reminded me of
the helmet.
It's the kind of game where at Gen Con it made me feel like you might see Sailor Moon fighting a ninja all of a sudden, kind of thing, right?
Absolutely.
It's like crazy, over the top Japanese animation stuff. But is it far along enough where people who go into Warstore Weekend might get a demo, or is it not that far along yet?
We are discussing the possibility of doing that. The big hurdle with it is I'm going to be there, but I'm going to be there running a show.
Right.
And that would make it hard.
Why is that hard? Just do everything. Just do everything at once.
It's a question of if it all works out or not.
Right. Well, I hope it does. That sounds fantastic. I can't wait to see how it all works out. That sounds really cool, too.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, me neither. Now, they will be doing demos of Super Dungeon Explorer, which is the game that they were demoing at Gen Con.
Right.
And PAX this last weekend, which is like, if you've ever played Gauntlet, old video game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's Gauntlet.
Cool.
So you have one guy playing the dungeon who spawns a bunch of monsters and tries to kill the heroes, and the heroes who try to clear out the dungeon.
Nice.
Except all the models are the super deformed chibi models, and they're super cute. And it's more grown men go, it's so cute, than any game ever in the history of time.
So it's Descent with anime, basically, is what you're saying. Which is, how's that bad?
Sort of. There's less, I would say it's faster paced than Descent, just because it's really designed to be a quick and, not quick and dirty, but it's just a fast, simple game.
Oh, cool. That sounds fun, too. I'll have to check that out again. I'll check that out more closely then. If you like anime, definitely it's the kind of thing. The company reminds me a little bit of Weird Miniatures in that the models are just they're in this crazy place that no one else makes anything like that. And if you fall in love with those models, you're going to love the game, right? So it's all about the visuals, and if you think that's cool, you want to play more. So it's definitely got that feel of if you like their sculpts and their sculptors, you're going to want to try their game out, it sounds like. So it looks really cool. And they're very unique casts. Well, cool. Kevin, thank you so much for spending some time with us and taking some time out. I'm sure it's a very busy schedule as you get down to the last month or so here for the Warstore Weekend. So it sounds like it's going along great.
It is, and I can't wait to be there. I think it's going to be an awesome weekend.
Awesome. Well, we want to see plenty of photos on the intertubes. Can you make that happen?
I hope so.
Awesome. Okay, great.
And will we, the D6G annual con is TempleCon. Will we see you at TempleCon this year?
One way or another, for sure.
All right,
awesome.
Cool.
Very good. Well, Kevin, thanks so much for being on the show, and have a great week, and good luck getting the things ready together for the con.
Thanks a lot, guys. And hopefully, we'll be able to talk more frequently and get a better, local presence for the Warstore with you guys.
Awesome. Love that plan. All right, Kevin, take care now.
TheWarstore.com, bringing war to your door since 1999. The Warstore offers the best prices on the net and features such products as Games Workshop, Privateer Press, Sable Designs, Flames of War, and many, many more. Order at thewarstore.com, that's thewarstore.com, or call 631-765-0047. That's 631-765-0047. TheWarstore.com.
I'm Rafe Hollywood Granger, and this is the Hollywood Minute.
And here's today's shout-out. Need a free way to score your games on your iOS device? Try ScoreMo Lite before you buy the no-ad version on the iTunes App Store. And Kyle, the author of the ScoreMo app, was very kind enough to give us a free code for access to the app. It actually gave us a bunch of codes. But my first one is the first person to type this in, and apologize to those people not in the U.S. This only works in the U.S. iTunes store, and Kyle was kind enough to let me know that that's not his rule, that's iTunes' rule. But anyway, here's the code. Type this in and get your first ScoreMo. TJN79E634 FMP. That is TJN79E634 FMP. Type it in iTunes, get your free app. All right, this is the second week for Play by Podcast. I've got a little housekeeping before we go. I'm very excited this week. We have a total of 2 characters. The newest introduction is by Rob Edmond, and we'll get introduced to his character as we go along. And the other, of course, is, I like to call him Rust. His real name's Chad, but his email is Rust, which is just too cool. And that's Bandy. So he is a warlock gnome, and our new character is, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but our new character is a human wizard. And I just love this background story. So let's start with the background story. His name is Nexus, and he is an aged man at 50 due to his long and heavy relationship with the drink. He can often be seen stumbling across the countryside or in a heap in a back alleyway. He is quite fond of dwarves, as they are social drinkers, and are apt to share their hearty ales with him in exchange for the services he can provide for them, and that they are unable to accomplish themselves. Despite his constant inebriation, he is not a troublemaking drunk. He is content at sitting in a corner and spitting up that last ale into his beard. His speech is always slurred, and he walks in such a way that makes others uneasy, as they are sure he should stumble and fall with each step he takes on a busy city street. His docile nature allows him to slip unnoticed into hay and pig carts. Drink also seems to just come his way, as if guided to him by an unseen hand. Rarely paying for the drink, it seems to always be left behind by another patron or in the ogre's cave that has just captured him. Nexus is lucky these ogres are always after him, as pickled human is an ogre delicacy, but the fool always manages to escape, especially when his wits have been nowhere to be found for at least a decade. Which brings up another point. His sauced mind drowns memories and prevents him from an accurate long-term memory. Though his twisted memories sometimes dredge up important and specific facts, as well as reveal knowledge in an almost divine way. Nexus has been on many journeys, though he cannot recall most of them. He is also destined for many more. Though his wits and sense fail him, luck seems to play a major role in his success. He always seems to remember that spell just in time, or miscast it, causing a strange but adequate effect. So yes, I would encourage, like I said, we have one more spot available for a character. Just FYI, I've never really said this, but I call Arath a fighter, but he's actually not the defender class. He is in the he is a ranger, a dual-wielding type of fighter. So, for a brief review, this play-by podcast will be every other Hollywood Minute, and it is meant to be enjoyed by all the listeners. Hear yourself or your favorite character in there, and for those that are playing along, that would be Rob and Rust. I want you to go ahead and feel free to script. I'll always leave it at some sort of a minor cliffhanger. Feel free to script as time permits what your character may do or may say, and you'll find it being aired. That's how we did the play-by-email campaign. Remember, no pressure. You don't have to. It's just open for you. You're not bullying me. I do want to see what you may say or what your character may say or do, and I will incorporate that into the podcast. All right, let's begin. First, last time on Play by Podcast. Arath, a human fighter/ranger, awoke to see his whole party killed, whilst blood-sucking flying beasts preyed upon them. A large but young black dragon lay dead at the center of the temple. Arath somehow finds his way to Varuz, where his journey began. He makes his way to the warehouse district to the 12 Dagger Shipping Company to deliver the Key of Aloth. There he picks up a follower, Bandy, a purple and white-haired gnome warlock, who for no reason takes a liking to the lost Arath. The dock boss pays Arath his sum and tells him Old Man Tarberry may know more about his mission. Arath goes to see Old Man Tarberry and learns a great wizard requested the Key of Aloth be found. Find it Arath did, but at what cost? For he learns that 2 of his party were killed, and 1 was his best friend and his wife. His journey to learn why the Key of Aloth is worth all this continues. Okay, so Arath learned that from Old Man Tarberry that he needed to go back to the Lost Temple, and that is where he goes. Arath and Bandy arrive at the entrance to the sunken temple without much to do. Arath, again lost in his memories in his mind, doesn't seem to listen or speak much to Bandy along the journey, and they do not encounter anything along the way, not so much as a squirrel in the woods or a band of thieves. It's a quiet journey. Arath seems to awaken out of his reverie when he comes upon the entrance to the sunken temple, and he suddenly stops the horses, and he doesn't know why. He looks around and he motions for Bandy to get off. They're about maybe 300 yards from the entrance, and Arath, let's see what he can detect. Using his wilderness lore, he scores a 19 plus his skill bonuses. Yeah, he definitely detects that there has been recent activity around the mouth of the temple entrance. Arath signals to Bandy using hand signals and says to follow him to the mouth of the temple. They get to the entranceway when they see some steps leading down, and it looks like about 50 yards into the gloom, it looks to see about 5 to 10 recently dead bodies, maybe within 2 weeks' time. Bandy also makes a skill check using his nature score. He scores a natural 18, plus his skill bonuses. He's trained in nature, and he definitely can tell that those bodies down there seem to be about 4 weeks old, although there's something strange about them. Bandy whispers to Arath, "These bodies seem to be about 4 weeks old," which is quite strange considering Arath was here maybe 5 to 7 days ago at best with travel. So that is an odd fact indeed. Okay, I need both characters to make observations checks. Yes. Bandy, again, with his superior skill, rolled another 18, seems to notice that one of the bodies doesn't seem quite as old as the rest. Arath signals that they descend down the stairs as quietly as they can, moving silently. And when they peek around the corner, you guessed it, the bodies animate. 4 decaying skeletons arise out of their death heap, while other bodies still laid strewn around. However, combat begins. Speaking as the DM here, I think it's always fun. We always start out with the at-will powers and then work our way up to the encounter powers. But not Bandy. Bandy is going to start with one of his most powerful powers. It is his Other Wind Stride. Summoning his Fey power, he targets, and he can get probably about 2 of the decaying skeletons in his burst. Yes, it goes off. He summons a vortex of power, blasting 2 of the decaying skeletons. They take a good amount of damage, but they are still standing still. Arath moves in, and he swings his long sword and his axe. Hitting one, hitting the second one, he knocks the third one to the ground. So 3 have been wounded totally. The 4th one comes moving in on Arath, swings for Arath and misses. The 3rd one gets back up, swings for the gnome, hits the gnome, does 6 points of damage. The fight continues when a 5th disheveled figure arises out of the gloom, moaning menacingly. shaking rubble debris out of his beard. Yep, you guessed it, it's Nexus. Suddenly recognizing his surroundings, seeming to have bones and decaying skeletons on top of him, he strikes out. Nexus goes to cast his Ray of Enfeeblement, hits with a natural 18, disabling another of the decaying skeletons. 3 are badly wounded, and 1 is slightly wounded and enfeebled. Arath moves in, strikes twice again, finishes off his, and Bandy steps into his swirling vortex and bamfs, teleports himself behind the rest of the zombies into the main chamber. Unbeknownst to Bandy, however, as he backs up to gain a better angle, he notices behind him 2 large red-lit braziers of coal fire, and standing in the center of the room, taking up 4 squares on the battle grid, is a large, hulking zombie. All right, we're going to pause there and leave everybody to say what they're going to do next. 1 zombie is down, 1 is caught under a Ray of Enfeeblement, and 2 are probably at about half hit points, and there is a large hulking zombie in the room. What will happen next? All right, out of character, little maintenance here. I am almost done wrapping up my other private practice here, which again will give me the time to spend more time on my blog. I am really looking forward to getting back to that. I hope everybody knows there, my comments there with John and Cody are as friends, and I know they know that. I did get to know John over the time at Gen Con. Didn't get a chance to meet Cody, but he's a brother-in-arms playing Khador, so I meant that in the spirit for which it was intended. I haven't heard from anybody, by the way, but I realized that perhaps not everybody knows that I do consider them really good friends and fellow podcasters, and so I just wanted to soften that in case it came across a little harsh. I'll talk to you later. See you in 2 weeks.
You're listening to the D6 generation. We just love playing around.
Need to add a big unit to your current force and don't feel like painting that many grunts? Or maybe you want to start a new army and really don't have time to paint it up. That's where PaintedFigs.com can help. For over 4 years, their staff with over 20 years of experience in the industry have been providing gamers with high-quality, affordable paint jobs on miniatures for their most popular games, including Flames of War, Warhammer 40,000, Fantasy, War Machine, Hordes, and even a variety of board game pieces. Their full-service packages include the cost of the models themselves at wholesale prices, assembling, painting, and basing. And they now offer a super affordable dipping service starting as low as 99 cents per figure. Because they are able to get the models wholesale, you end up with a package appearing on your doorstep full of ready-to-play models at only a fraction over the retail price. That's why PaintedFigs.com is the official painting service of the D6 generation. Their name says what they do. PaintedFigs.com. High-quality miniature painting at the lowest rates on Earth. Even with shipping. Be sure to let them know the D6 generation sent you.
This is Total Fangirl. Regular Jane most days, total fangirl when the moment strikes. Han shot first. Starbuck is a guy. And Lestat, now there's a vampire. This is Nicole, your Total Fangirl. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicole Wakelin. You can check out my blog, TotalFangirl.com, and even find my Facebook page, Total Fangirl. I'm out chatting with people all the time. This week, our shout-out is, do your dice taunt you? Do you break out in a cold sweat thinking about rolling for initiative? Is the word craps an expletive rather than a game? We feel your pain at DiceHateMe.com, the board gaming blog with worse luck than you. That was a bit of a tongue twister to say, but I've actually seen that blog and it's kind of cool. You should check it out. So this week, I actually wanted to talk to you about something that I talked about on my blog last week. It's a video that came out. It's a video and a song, and it's actually a parody. It's called Geek and Gamer Girls Song. And it is exactly what you think it is. It's a parody, and it references geeks and gamer girls. It's actually off of Katy Perry's song, California Girls. This video and this song are absolutely hilarious. The 4 women that are in it dress up like in cosplay, like they're at a con. One's Han Solo, one's Lara Croft, and they look fantastic. They have a backdrop that's full of action figures and busts of, superheroes, and there's scenes that they play out where they're like from American Beauty, but instead of having the roses over their naughty bits, they've got like comic books and games and game controllers. It's really, really a funny video, and it's a great spoof. There's references to everything you can possibly think of, and they're spot on references. There's Star Wars in there, Star Trek, comics, console games. I think my favorite part of the whole thing is, how when you sing YMCA, you do the hand thing, YMCA. They do one when they say MMO and they make MMO. It's hilarious. I listened to it. I started listening to it, and I called Russ over. I'm like, wait, I got to stop. You got to watch this with me. This is hilarious. And he loved it, too. We liked it. We didn't see anything wrong with it. I thought it was a spot-on parody. It took a really fun, poppy little song, and then it made some perfect spot-on references for people who are geeks. There is something in there that every geek is going to like. There's even a fantastic rap by Seth Green, the guy who does Robot Chicken. You have to listen to it at least 3 times to catch the whole thing, and he is great. So I watched this. I loved it. Russ watched it. He loved it. But apparently, aside from the fact that it has had, I think, 1 million+ views in its first week out there were some people that were really, really cranky. Like angry cranky, took to the internets and started being all angry and cranky for the world to see. And it wasn't that they were angry and cranky because they made the wrong reference or they said Trekker instead of Trekkie or some silly geeky thing like that. No geek canon was violated in the making of the video. They were mad because the 4 women that are in this are really, really good-looking women. I mean, they're attractive. They're beautiful women. And their complaint was that, well, that's not realistic. How can that be realistic? Geeks and gamer girls don't look like that. There's no way. These women were just, they hired pretty women just so that they could put pretty women on this video and get all of us to watch it and taunt us geek guys out there because, women like that don't really exist. Well, I read this, and it hit me as wrong on so many levels. I blogged about it, and I thought I would talk about it on my segment this week as well. First off, and really, you guys should check this video out, maybe listen to it, view it, see what you think for yourselves. But it's great. These women, though, they weren't put together by some guy with a mastermind plan behind there trying to come up with a cool, geeky video. These 4 women actually wrote this song. They're the geeks. They really do know all that stuff. They really do play Halo. They really do know MMOs. They really are the kind of women who dress up and do cosplay at cons. And they wrote this. So the idea that it was put together somehow to taunt the geeks out there, no, it's just 4 women who happen to be really, really attractive, and they are actresses, but they really are a bunch of geeks as well. So it's sort of frustrating that people thought that it was insincere because they couldn't possibly be real. And sort of a play on that, they actually, on their Facebook page, these women actually called it Team Unicorn for the win, because unicorns, much like geek girls, don't exist, which was funny until sort of I realized, my God, people really do think that there's no way that women could be attractive and be geek girls. Sort of a stereotype in reverse. That couldn't possibly be. They can't exist. The stereotype is they're not really out there. The other thing about it that was kind of weird is that they were just plain old mad that regardless of whether or not these women were gamers, that they were all pretty. And I thought to myself, so what? So you're saying that all girls who game and are geeks are like ugly trolls that live in their parents' basement? That's no more true for women, excuse me, than it is for men. Geeky girls come in all shapes and sizes. And I think if they had used just average-looking girls or had picked really unattractive girls, they would have caught all sorts of heat for calling gamer girls unattractive and average. This was like a no-win situation for them. But because they happened to be attractive and they happened to use themselves in the video that they wrote, they caught a lot of heat for it. I think that it's ridiculous, and I think it's kind of ironic coming from a group where, geeks and gamers are a minority. I mean, although it seems like they're everywhere, and there's comic book movies coming out all the time, and there's conventions, it seems like, especially in the United States, you could hit a convention for geeky stuff just about every weekend these days, but it's still a minority. So for that group to actually be critical of the fact that someone's recognizing that there are geek and gamer girls out there was a little bit insane to me. So I was just hoping that everybody would give this video a chance. It's a lot of fun. You guys listening to the show, you're gamers. You're going to get most of these references, and it is funny to listen to. It is funny to watch. They've even got cameos from Katie Sackhoff, the girl who's Starbuck, but not Starbuck because Dirk Benedict's the one true Starbuck. And they've got Stan Lee in there yelling Excelsior. So, how can you go wrong? So if you want a few minutes of fun, check out a cute video. Google Geek and Gamer Girls song, watch the video, listen to all the cool references, and just enjoy it and be happy that Geek and Gamer Girls really do exist.
Hey guys, this is Matt M., Wold Warrior on the forums. I just wanted to give a call and give you a great thank you. It is 3:30 in the morning, and I am heading towards Gen Con at 55 miles per hour. It's a long drive, and the back episodes of the D6 generation have been keeping me awake for the haul. So thanks a lot. Keep up the great work. Love the show, and hopefully see you guys soon. Bye.
Hey, it's long-time listener Juan. I just wanted to say I was just listening to What's in the News, and I realized the reason that Russ's voice is so squeaky in that segment is that he has some kind of reverse ratio between the distance of his voice box from the mic and his actual the actual frequency of his speech, because what happens is the closer he is to the microphone, the more he sounds like Russ, and the farther away he is, the more he sounds like Russ on the news segment. So who knew? It's just that he was standing too far from the desk. When he gets really close, he sounds almost like the news guy. It's just that rich and clear. So I just enjoyed myself listening to it, and have a good time.
Hey, D6G team. Sorry about that. My name is Braden, and I just want to say I love you guys' show. I love when you guys do the role-play segments, and I especially love when you talk to Ross Watson and do some more Hordes and War Machine stuff, because I'm thinking about getting into it, and you guys get me excited about the game and all other games, because, it's awesome. So keep it up. Thanks. Bye.
Hey, I'm Luke. And I'm JJ. And we're the guys from World's End Radio. When we're not playing games, or lying to our wives about it, then we're going to the ends of the earth to bring you the latest content on all aspects of the Games Workshop hobby. And a few other worlds besides. So come find us at www.worldsendradio.com. Or subscribe to the show through iTunes.
Greetings from Myriad Games, your friendly professional game store. We offer a wide variety of family fun for everyone. With our Anytime Open Play program, you can try out hundreds of different games from our massive game library right here in store. And coming this year, our new Game Share program, which works a lot like Netflix, but for all your favorite unplugged games. Our MVPs will have an opportunity to participate in an alpha test of Game Share. So if you're interested in trying it out, sign up today. We've expanded our MVP program, offering steel, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and titanium MVP memberships. MVPs receive a wide variety of benefits, including bonus Myriad money, access to our new achievements program, complimentary open play passes, free shipping, and much more. The higher your level, the more bonuses you'll receive. For more details, visit myriadgames.com/MVP. Thanks for shopping Myriad Games, your friendly professional game store.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
And now we want to talk about... Nice.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
I am Strahd.
You done?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to talk about...
The vampire.
You're not done, are you?
I'm not.
The new hotness that is Castle Ravenloft.
Where I live.
Right. Castle Ravenloft just came out at Gen Con.
Yep.
Literally,
it did not come out at Gen Con.
It just came out
actually.
like last month or this month,
like
or the last
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
a couple weeks ago,
it was premiered at Gen Con. You could try it, right? And we did.
Yeah.
And we talked about it a bit in the Gen Con episode,
right?
And now we're going to give it the full D6G patent pending, but not legally binding review,
right?
So first, let's talk about the overview.
Well, let's talk about the fact that Strahd has already taken Rafe.
Right. I don't know where Granger went. He'll be back any moment now. We think. We assume so.
Or not.
He could be going vampy right now, and we have to play Mission 4 to recover him.
There you go.
So, anyway, it was released, just as we said, a couple weeks ago, 2010, by Wizards of the Coast.
I believe that's pronounced Wizards of the Coast.
Okay, you want to go with the designers there too, Mr. Vlad?
Bill Slavicek, Mike Merles, and Peter Lee.
That's right. Excellent. And it's a 1 to 5 player co-op game. Yes, that's right. Solo too.
Really? One?
Yes. 1 to 5. So it's kind of cool. Now, big thing there is it's co-op. It's not like Descent. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. But basically, there's no people playing the other side. This is like Pandemic in that everybody's working together for common good. There's no player elimination or anything like that. You either all beat the game or you all lose.
Right.
The theme is that... Craig, you want to read the theme sentence?
Evil lurks in the towers and dungeons of Castle Ravenloft, and only heroes of exceptional bravery can survive the horrors within.
Right. So basically, you are co-oping heroes. You're going to do a dungeon crawl. You're going to defeat some monsters and try to tackle a bunch of different kinds of objectives.
Yep.
Every scenario is actually quite different, and so you're going to be different kind of challenges to try to beat. And what's nice
how
about
many?
it...
How many are there missions in the
13
box? 13 missions. Ooh, lucky 13.
Right. And the big thing is it's a taste of D&D. It actually uses the D&D 4E core mechanics quite a bit. Yeah. So you get a little flavor for D&D. If you're a D&D player, it's kind of like, ooh, neat. And if you're not, you get kind of a soft step in.
It's kind of a very, very, very non-subtle gateway drug.
Yes, not subtle at all. And the suggested retail price is actually surprisingly affordable for this much stuff in the box. $65.
It is indeed.
US, which is not bad.
No.
What you get. Let's talk about what you get. So, Rafe, how about the sound effect of the box opening? Look at that. He got the cue. I was hoping he was there.
Wow.
All right, nice, Rafe. So that's the box opening up.
Rafe, were you able to defeat the vampire?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
But I only played scenario 2.
All right.
Okay.
So let's talk about what comes in there. So you get basically lots of plastic.
Yes.
40 bits of plastic, all nicely sculpted. There's they're the same size, scale, and actually molds from the original D&D collectible miniatures that you could get for Dungeons and Dragons. So if you're used to seeing those, they're the same models.
Yeah.
They're just not pre-painted anymore.
Right. Which will also give you a good idea of the quality of the models.
Right. Now, if you happen to own these very same pre-painted ones, then of course you can bring them out of your collection and put them in the board game. They'll work just fine, and now you have paint them all.
And somebody on Board Game Geek actually went and costed them out, and it costs about $200 if you want to buy the painted versions on eBay if you don't own them already.
Now, many of my D&D friends already have these things in piles in their basement. So
giant piles.
Right. Now, of the plastic 40 bits, you get 5 heroes. There are only 5 heroes in the game. It's not like Descent where there's all kinds of choices.
30 to start with.
There are 30 monsters, 5 heroes. 30
no, I know, but in Descent there's 30.
Yes.
Oh, 20 to start with.
I don't think it's 30. There's
20
a lot,
to
though.
start with.
And you get 5 villains who are like different scenarios have main bad guys in them. They are not pre-painted, but some of them are different colors. So the heroes are all
actually
blue.
they're all different colors.
Yeah, there's all different colors for class.
They code to different monster types and things like that.
Doesn't really matter. It just has a little variety on the table. Then you also get these 13 of these sort of very heavy puzzle-style cardboard dungeon tiles that become the dungeon.
Only 13?
I think there's only 13 in there. That's what's in the box.
Oh.
It feels like more.
Seemed like more.
Feels like a lot. And they're about 1-inch squares on them, and they're 4x4, so that gives you a rough size about 4-inch by 4.
There's got to be way more than 13.
You think so?
It makes like 2
because the stack is giant.
Yeah, but they're thick though. But maybe it's more than 13. There's a lot. It feels like a lot.
It's a lot. It's way more than 13.
It says 13 in the box. It's probably more.
The box is wrong.
Got to be a misprint.
Yeah.
And you get 200 kinds of cards, all kinds of cards. We'll talk more about the decks of cards.
Yeah,
when we get
cards
to the
are
rules.
huge in this game.
You get a full color rule booklet,
but
it's very short.
Very short.
9 pages.
Very simple, elegant rule system.
It's not hard to learn this game at all.
No.
It's very, very easy.
No.
Which is great for dungeon
but that
crawls.
doesn't mean the game's light and wimpy either.
No. It's just easy to get. And also you get the scenario booklet, which is actually longer than the rule book. It's 13 pages.
Yeah.
Also full color. It's a nice picture.
13. Lucky number 13.
That's where your 13's coming in, Russ. 13 scenarios.
There you go.
13 scenarios, yes.
And what kind of dice does it have, Russ?
1d20, which of course D&D always
D&D.
Right, D20. And lots of cardboard tokens because, well, it's a board game. And they're high quality. So even though this isn't Fantasy Flight, you're looking at tokens at that level. It's a very nice looking component.
Very thick cardboard.
So what do we think of the components? You guys have everybody seen the game. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Rafe.
I'm very impressed with the components. I was very happy. There are a lot of them, and they're not a lot just to have a lot and go, ooh, we've got, I don't know, like they have the ones where you're, like slowed, and, the tokens each serve a function. They're the nice thick cardboard. I'm very happy.
Yeah. I'm going to have to be the naysayer on this. Although,
interesting.
The functionality of all the tokens is great, and I think you get enough to do exactly what you want to do, and you don't have too many. It's not like you're all cluttered up. I like the immobilized and the slow. So I like the tokens. For some reason, and I believe it was a conscious art choice. I don't think this was like a problem with the components. To me, all of the art in the game seems muted, which hasn't bothered anybody else that I've mentioned that to.
What do you mean by muted? Like
the colors are dull to me. They're not
dull
they're,
instead
they're
of
not
glossy?
like they're not they don't pop to me. Yeah, well, not even. I don't want to say dull instead of glossy because I don't mean like glossy like shiny. I mean like they don't pop to me. They seem just like
I think they match the colors of the text in the player's handbook.
Which is
so it's a design choice, but
right?
you're right,
That's what
but
I mean.
yeah.
It's a design choice, but to me, it causes the game to look a little flatter on the table when you're looking at it.
That's interesting.
And I'm not a big fan of some of the models.
Really?
Yeah, like the Strahd model is like butt ugly. His legs are like half as long as they think that his torso should be. But
well, they are the D&D models, which weren't the greatest ever.
And
so.
but some of them are awesome.
Yeah.
So they're just like the D&D collectible miniature models.
Right.
Some of them are great, and some of them aren't so great. But when you're looking at the board overall, the quality of everything is great. And the functionality of everything is great, but for some reason, for me, the artwork or the colors don't pop.
I would say the components are good, but not exceptional.
Okay, well, I would agree.
You know what I
with
mean?
that.
For a board game, they don't. Some board games are lately getting close to miniature board game level,
right? Yeah.
Like City of Thieves.
Yeah.
They're really, really good. This is not there.
Right.
It's more. But
I would say it exceeded my expectation.
Okay.
The
Well, that's good. Okay, well, there you go.
That's component.
Speaking of that, keep going. I'm going to get the box because this whole puzzle thing is. I'm going to see how many there is. It's right around the corner.
Raven's
Keep going.
counting.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about setting up the game. Now, one thing that's very nice about this is that it sets up really quick.
Yes, it does.
Unlike other dungeon crawling games, which usually are more complicated. So, basically, first you're just going to shuffle 3 decks. You got a monster deck, and a counter deck, and a treasure deck. Hand those out to different players. Get them shuffling those.
Yeah.
Next up, each player gets a handy quick reference card. It's a sequence of planet. These are awesome because basically they have all the rules of the game on this card. Yeah. You almost don't even need to read the rule book to play the games. You have this card. It's that good. Then you're going to pick a scenario you're going to play. So you flip through the scenario book and choose one. If it's your first game ever and you have more than one player, pick scenario 2. Otherwise, pick scenario 1 for single player.
Yeah.
That's simple enough. Each player now, here's the hardest part, picks a hero. So you fight over which hero you guys are going to play. Normally you pick a player 1, he picks one here, and you go around the table. And you each get a cool little hero card, which is cardboard, and has all the stats for your hero. It's double-sided with a level 1 on one side and the level 2 version of your hero on the other. Of course, you start the game at level 1. So you pick your hero. You're also going to pick powers for your hero. Each hero has their own little deck of powers. So the fighter has a fighter powers deck, and the wizard has a wizard powers deck. And these powers all match powers you might see in D&D 4. There are daily powers, and there are what they call at-will powers, and there are also utility powers. Okay, which would be called encounter powers.
Which are confusing because in the current version of the game, there's really no difference between daily powers and utility powers. Because
right, there are just some cards that come up that say you refresh your utility power, and some cards come up that say you refresh your daily power.
Have they? I haven't. All I've seen are cards that say refresh one of your powers.
Right,
that's been
but they have the option. I think there's one, but maybe not. It could be different. But with that,
I think that's built in for. I think this entire game is built primarily looking to the future. Oh, yeah. That's my theory.
So anyway, so you pick your powers, and you have some choices. And the scenario book does recommend powers for first-time players. So if that's even feels too intimidating for the first time, just pick the ones they suggest. And your hero card tells you how many of each power you get. Yeah. So the hero's power deck has more powers than you're allowed to take. You got to choose what you're going to pick.
Right.
Well, choose if you want to do the quote advanced, which isn't even that advanced.
Right. And each player also gets a random treasure card from the treasure deck.
I just opened the box, guys. Oh,
nice. So,
it's got that new box smell still.
So you each get a treasure card.
I find that part,
and that's just starting treasure. In fact, I missed that rule to begin with. We played it three times with no treasure cards at all,
which I think you probably should because it's more frustrating than anything
works
else.
Fine. Some of what Craig's talking about is sometimes you get a treasure card that's useful, and sometimes if you get a treasure card in the beginning of the game, it doesn't really help you at all.
Well, one third of the treasures are actually 2/3 of the treasures aren't treasures. They're actually events that help you.
Bonus events,
like they're
such as resetting one of your powers,
like resetting one of your powers, or move one monster 2 tiles away from you. So if you get one of those, it does nothing for you. At the
Another
beginning.
board game might have said, "Hey, each player roll a die on a 5 or 6. You get to start the game with a power." That's how they use it here.
Right.
So it's really quick. You do all this stuff. Now, the last thing I'm going to do that's even remotely complicated is build the dungeon tile stack. And how this normally works depends on the scenario. So you get the stack of the dungeon tiles, all the ones that come in the game. And there are certain special dungeon tiles that are the goals for the different scenarios. And the scenario tells you that, for example, the laboratory tile is the goal for this one. And place the laboratory tile X number of places up from the bottom or down from the top, whatever it says. I think it says down from the top.
Yeah.
So what you're basically doing is deciding how far down from the top it's going to be, but there's a little random component to this, because normally it says count down from the top of your stack, 8 tiles, take the next 4 tiles out, shuffle in the gold tile in with those 4 tiles and put them back in.
Right.
That means it's now between the 10th and 15th
Somewhere
tile.
else.
So it's you kind of know where it is.
Which
you don't know
means
exactly
you've got
where
more
it
than
is.
13.
Right. So that's what's interesting. So there's a few. That's the dungeon style attack. And then you're going to put out 2 healing surge tokens. And these are very important. We'll get more to those later. And that's it. You're ready to go. So real quickly, you shuffle the cards. Each player picks a hero. You pick your scenario. You build the deck of dungeon tiles. You're ready to play. There's no setting up a dungeon to map any kind of match any kind of map or anything like that. You're ready to start. Kind of like Betrayal on the House on the Hill. The dungeon's going to build itself as you go.
Yep.
All right. So that's set up pretty fast for a dungeon crawler.
Okay, Craig.
Yes.
Was Russ right and the book said 13, or was he wrong?
I think he was probably wrong.
He's wrong. 40 interlocking dungeon tiles.
40?
Where did I get 13
There you
from?
go. Huh?
It's a lot more than 13.
I think you got 13 from the scenario.
Pages. Or
could be.
But anyway.
All right. So the first player. So let's talk about the game turn, because it's really not very complicated. In fact, the game turn is covered in those little turn phase cards. Right. So basically what's going to happen is each player is going to execute 3 phases, and one player finishes all his phases before the next player goes. So you figure who player 1's going to be. We usually do this a little bit of fun using the who's going to get initiative roll. So we all roll a d20. That guy's going to be player 1 the rest of the game. Let's say Craig wins initiative. He goes first. We just play clockwise. So Craig's going first. He's going to execute all 3 phases. He's going to do the hero phase, he's going to do the exploration phase, and then he's going to do the villain phase, and then he's done.
Right.
And then it's Rafe's turn. Rafe's going to do the hero phase, exploration phase, villain phase. He's done. My turn. And we just keep going around the table, and we play that through until the scenario ends. That's all there is to it. So let's talk about
each of the phases kind of have little tendrils that float off of them, right?
Sure. So let's talk about the phases now. So in the hero phase, so Craig's going first. It's his turn. The reference cards tells you exactly what to do. There's basically like a little if-then statements right on the card.
Yeah.
So Craig looks down and says, is your hit points 0? If they are, you got to immediately spend the healing surge and heal your hero.
And it's not 2 per person, it's 2 for the whole party. So you're spending 1 of the healing surges for the whole party, and it just helps you.
Right. So how this works is, just like D&D 4, your character's got a stat on his card that says how many hit points you get back for a healing surge. And this isn't optional. If it gets to the beginning of your turn and your hero is still at 0 hit points, you take one of those 2 healing surges in the center of the table, discard it, and your hero gets back whatever your healing surge value is. Yeah. So you may have started the game with 11 hit points and have a surge value of 4, so you get 4 more hit points back. Okay? If your hit points aren't at 0, skip that step. Okay? And the next thing you're going to do is perform an action. You have 3 choices. You can move, then attack, or you can attack, then move, or you can move twice. Moving's really simple. On your card, it tells you your speed in squares, and each of those tiles we talked about has squares on it. And if you want to move your hero and his speed is 6, you count 6 squares, and you can move diagonally too. Boom, boom, done.
Yep, and right through people, right?
And you cannot go through monsters.
Not monsters,
but you can go through
but
friendlies.
I think your own.
Just like Descent, you can go through friendlies, but not bad guys.
Yes.
And you can't end with somewhere else where a square someone else occupies. No. Attacking is also very, very simple.
Unless you have the dancing feet, then you can.
I don't think you can end. No, I don't think you can ever end on the square someone else occupies.
I know.
So now you can describe it. So what's going to happen now is we attack. So if you attack, it's very, very simple. You pick the power you want to use. So if you want to use an at-will power, for example, like double strike or single strike or precise strike, or whatever it's called, on your power it shows a plus to your die roll. You roll a d20, you add the plus on the power, you get a total number. Let's say I rolled a 12, my power's plus 5, now I've got a 17. I look at the monster's armor class. If my number exceeds his armor class, I hit him, and I do the damage my power says. That's it.
Yep.
That's attacking. It's over. Boom.
Easy.
That's the hero phase. So you do that. You move, you attack, you're done.
Actually, isn't the applied damage just usually one or 2 wounds? It's not like for D&D players out there. You're not then rolling a D8 or D10.
There's no dice roll for damage. It's all a fixed number.
Right. It'll read mace 1 damage point.
1, 2, or 3.
But the skeleton might only have 1 damage.
Yeah,
point.
the hit points are very low in this game. Like heroes all have like maybe between
2.
Well, here's
between
the one 2.
6 and 12.
6 and,
okay.
And monsters have like 1 or 2. 3 is the most I've ever seen on monsters so far.
Heroes.
Except for the villains.
The Dragon Lich has I think 8 or 12.
So you get the very D&D 4 minion feeling.
Yeah.
There's a lot of monsters that 1 hit kills them.
Yeah.
But there are monsters that are 3 hit points feel like a lot.
Yeah.
And then the villains have a lot of hit points, like 19 or 20. You got to deal with them. Now Now, so after you do your hero phase, though, you're not done with your turn yet. Now you got to do the exploration phase. Now, how this works is, if your hero is on a square that's adjacent to the edge of the board, in other words, he's on a tile that's got nothing next to it, it's open space. There's no tile there yet, right? Yeah. Then he's going to do what's called exploring. So you draw a new tile from the tile stack, and you're going to put it down on the edge of the tile the hero's standing on, next to where he's standing. And when you flip a tile over, you're going to see there's a little triangle on it. You got the triangle facing the hero. So you put the piece down. If you're somewhere else in the map where you're not adjacent to the edge of the board, then you don't explore. Okay? There is one hero with a special ability that can explore to the edge, but that's the special rule. Right. Basically, you got to be at the edge of the board to explore. And it's not an option. If you're on the edge of the board, you will explore.
Right.
Okay? Flip it over. When you explore, you flip the next tile over, you face the arrow towards your hero, so the dungeon's getting bigger, you're seeing what's next down the road, what the corridor's doing. And you're also always draw a monster card. Mm-hmm. Because there's always a monster every time you flip a dungeon tile over.
Yeah.
So you flip the tile over, you draw a monster card. The monster card might say spider. So you put the monster card in front of you, because it's a monster you're going to control now because you drew the monster, and you put the plastic monster that matches the card, i.e. the plastic spider, on the tile you just flipped over. You put it right on the little bone pile there. Every tile's got its own little pile of bones. It's like a gauntlet. So it comes down, you put it on the bone pile, and you're ready to rock.
Podcaster needs food badly.
Right. So you put the monster down. So basically exploring, really simple. On the edge, flip over a new tile, get yourself a monster card, put the matching monster on the tile, done.
Pause.
Yes.
You'd think from hearing that, if you hadn't played it yet, that it might be boring. That, every time I explore a tile, I'm going to get a monster? How boring is that? And that's not real D&D. Well, not every monster is a skeleton, or sometimes it's a pile of rats, or sometime, am I right? Am I confusing those with encounter cards? But
no, it's always
I kind of don't remember
but
feeling bored.
Well, no, it's
popping a monster.
Well,
out.
here's the. Let me finish the phase, and I'll go through the dilemma you're about to try to describe. But there is a challenging dilemma each turn, and we'll get to that in a second. But basically, it's whenever you explore a tile, there is always some kind of monster. It could be something not too bad, like a swarm of rats or a spider, or it could be something nasty, like a wraith.
But to me, I guess what I'm saying is thematically, you're like, oh, okay, it's not everywhere there's a skeleton. You're like, ooh, rats, gross, that kind of thing.
Yes, but every time you turn the corner, there is a monster of some kind.
Yeah, there's something.
So that's basically what happens. Now, the last part of the exploration phase, that's it. That's the exploration phase. The last phase is the villain phase. So basically, remember, you move your hero, you attacked with the hero. Were you on the edge? Yes, you explored. A new monster shows up. Eek. Now it's time for villain phase. In the villain phase, this is sort of like in Battlestar Galactica or in Shadows over Camelot. The end of each player's turn, you always flip over a card that does something bad.
Right.
The villain phase is the bad part. So, first of all, did you explore? In other words, did you put up a new dungeon tile? If you did, you could.
And it has a black arrow.
And it has a white arrow, you're okay.
Oh, okay.
If you flipped it over and there's a black arrow, or if you did not explore at all, then you got to draw an encounter card. Encounter cards are invariably bad. I think I've seen one good one ever, but they're usually bad. So you don't want to see these. So basically,
I think of those as you stood around too long and the DM rolled for a wandering monster.
Right. This is the Overlord getting threat. This is Battlestar Galactica Silence warping in. This is all the bad things that happen.
Yeah.
So basically, if you get it's roughly 50-50 chance in the tiles, I think you get a black arrow or not. So here's the dilemma Rafe was alluding to. If you choose not to explore, in other words, you're already fighting a few monsters. You don't want to face another one right now, so your hero stay away from the edges of the board and try to kill what you've got. You're going to start seeing more encounter cards.
Yep.
If you explore, you generally see less encounter cards.
Yeah. And those encounter cards, some of those are brutal. They can wound everyone in the party.
They're nasty. Here's some examples of encounter cards. One of them, for example, is the vampire influences the mind of one of the players, and he walks over and attacks his friend.
Yeah.
Very much like the Overlord Dark Control. There's also one where a ghost flies through and attacks every member of the party. There's some that are like... everybody loses a power. Flip a power over you haven't used yet.
Yeah, it's also where a lot of the theme comes in.
Yes.
There's one that I think teleports you and monsters within one square of you, like really far away from everybody else.
Right. Yeah. And there's also traps. And the traps are nasty. So if you flip a trap card over, it's like a monster. You start controlling that trap. Yeah. And there's a piece of cardboard that goes in the square. And the traps range from like a really nasty crossbow turret that shoots within one tile of you guys to crushing walls. They're nasty. They're very lethal. So that happens. You get an encounter card or not. Hopefully you didn't. Then also, if there's any villains in play, it's near the end game basically. You activate those in this phase, but there aren't yet. And then also, now you have to activate your monsters. How activating monsters work is very simple. You go through the monsters you control in the order you gain them.
And traps. How do you gain them?
Well, remember when you flip a tile over, you gain a monster card, right?
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing you can get is traps.
A monster that you revealed you are in control of for the rest of the game.
That's right, until
he
it's dead.
dies.
Right. So what's interesting about that is I may have gained this turn, I may have explored and gained a spider.
Is there an exception to that rule? If there are other monsters of the same type out there?
Well, yeah, but let's not go there yet. So if there's
you know what that's like, Craig. Whoa.
Well, let me just
jump down a bullet point order.
Well, no, I don't want to overwhelm it.
Okay.
So if you have a monster that you drew this turn, or if you had a monster you drew from a previous turn,
right,
all the monsters that are in front of you that your player
they
are going to
activate.
activate, right?
And those are all if-then statements.
And you go through each monster the order you drew them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to activate my spider first. When I activate my spider, I look for all the spiders on the board, not just the spider I own, and they're all going to activate.
Yeah.
Okay? So what's interesting about that is if Craig drew a spider and I drew a spider, then when I activate the spider, Craig's spider activates. When it's Craig's turn, he's got to activate his spider, my spider also activates.
So you don't want to see multiples of the same
That's right.
monster.
Multiples of the same monsters are bad.
Although the game only comes with 3 of each type. So.
Right. But you still, we had a scenario where we had 3 spiders up from the very beginning, and it was hard because we kept rolling misses against them for some reason. They were all over us. So that's basically what happened. So I activate my spider, I activate my wraith, let's say, and then I activate my trap if I have it.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting to know is once that happens, though, you can see, okay, the dart trap's not going to activate again until Russ's turn. So I have a little bit of time to plan before we have to worry about it hitting us again.
Yeah. The game gets very cerebral at that point.
Oh, it's a very tactical game. It's a very puzzle-solving game. And then so you activate your monsters, and that's it. Now, the monster cards are interesting because they describe how the monsters... This is an interesting design choice. So each monster has its own tactics put into the card, and they're different for each monster. So
do you guys have a monster card there?
Well, I know a couple from memory. So, for example, the spider might say, if he is within 1 tile of a hero, if he's adjacent to a hero, he will bite the hero, and it shows the stats for his bite attack. Might be +2 to hit, he does 1 damage. If he's 1 tile away from a hero, he will shoot a spitty web attack. And if he hits, you move the spider adjacent to the hero, basically reels himself in, and the hero is immobilized and takes 1 point of damage.
Yeah.
And you put the immobilized counter on the hero, and the spider moves in. Other monsters might say, if they're adjacent, they swing, and if they're not adjacent, they move 1 tile closer to the hero.
Right. And it's tile, not space.
Right. So remember, there's 2 turns in the game.
Tile and square is a very important distinction.
So what does that mean? Well, remember on the tiles, they're 4x4 full of squares. So when the ranges in the game are all in terms of tiles, so if a kobold might say, if he's within 1 tile of a hero, he throws his spear. So he's a whole tile away, which could be as many as almost 8 squares away, right? He throws his spear. But if he's in the same if he's adjacent to the hero, meaning adjacent in squares, he might poke you with a spear. So that's how they do all that. Yeah. And the heroes are the same sort of deal. Like the ranger might have a twin sword attack that's adjacent to him, but he might have a twin shot attack that's 2 tiles away.
Right.
So that's how that works. And there's certain spells, like, for example, Fireball damages all monsters in the same tile.
Yeah.
So it's all tile-type stuff. And there are monsters that, when the Wraith dies, it damages all the heroes in the same tile. So when you're fighting certain monsters, you want to spread out, but then the heroes have certain abilities that augment each other if they're on the same tile. So there's these give and take in the game where you want to spread out, but you want to be together, which also reminds me of D&D 4, because there's a lot of that in the RPG as well. And believe it or not, that's the whole friggin' game.
Yep.
That's it. You activate your hero, then you explore, then the villain stuff goes, the monsters fight, and that's it. And you go around the table until the scenario goals happen, which for most scenarios means you get down deep enough to the pile until the room you're looking for in the scenario shows up. For example, the laboratory. And when that happens, you flip that over, you read some special game text in the source book, some special rules kick in, a villain shows up or something, depending on the scenario, and the scenario says what happens in the villain phase, you activate that extra hero, that extra villain a certain way. And it's all described in the cards. So that's really the whole game. But let me just talk about a couple of little side notes here to kind of bring some things home. We talked about combat range already. Everything's measured in terms of tiles. One thing to note is it's very abstract. You don't have to worry about line of sight or
a lot of it is
are you shooting through a certain model. The only thing is you can't measure diagonally when you're talking tiles. You have to always shoot down a quarter, basically. And you can't obviously shoot through walls.
Right.
That's it. We already talked about powers. Your at-will powers you can use as much as you want. Don't worry about what weapon you're swinging. For a while, we were all hung up on, which is my sword? You just do the power.
Yeah.
It's assumed you're carrying the right equipment. There are some treasures you get that are special that enhance your damage and stuff, but for the most part, you just do your powers. And when you use a daily power or utility power, you flip it face down. You can't use it again until some kind of treasure card or something flips it back over again. There are then monsters. We already talked about the tactics of monsters, how they all work. I think the gargoyle monster is really interesting because
it is funny.
His deal is if nobody's within a tile of him, he doesn't do anything. Most monsters advance, but he sits there like a statue.
Yeah.
But if you get with the one of him, then he comes flying in and he does like a Wolverine spin and damages everybody. He's evil. So you get in these situations where, like, do we need to kill that guy or can we just ignore him?
Do we really want to go past the gargoyle or should we go in the other direction?
No one wants to upset the gargoyle. So you definitely develop different tactics, as I mentioned, though, between is there a wraith, because you can't all be on the same tile, and him when he dies, he does damage to everybody. Do you spread out? All that kind of stuff. Now, when you kill a monster, we didn't talk about this. So when you kill a monster, some triggers happen in the game. The first thing is you get a treasure.
Yep.
So killing monsters is great because you get a treasure card. One little note, though, you can only ever get one treasure card per turn for that player. So if you walk into a room and fireball 6 monsters, you only get one treasure card. Yeah. And this is interesting because there's a scenario in the game where you're trying to actually collect a certain number of treasures to win.
Yes, brutal.
And what you have to do is not kill too many monsters yourself. You get certain situations. I'll pick off one and leave the next guy for you, but don't let him attack. You better kill him first.
Yeah.
And it becomes an interesting little puzzle game, too. The other thing, though, is when you kill a monster, it goes into the experience pile discard deck.
Yeah.
So experience points in this game do exist, and they're communal, okay? So when someone kills a monster, you just put them in
a neat idea, I think.
You just put them in the XP deck in the middle of the table. On the bottom of each monster card is its experience points value. So weedy monsters are worth 1, great monsters are worth 3, that kind of thing. So we start putting our dead monsters into a pile, and we start seeing how many experience points the group has available. You can then use experience points for certain things. You can spend 5 experience points to cancel an encounter card. So if an encounter card comes up and it's like attacks everybody and you're all down to like 3 hit points and it's going to wipe out the party, you're like, oh man, we better stop that. You can spend 5 XP, assuming you've got it. You discard that many monster cards from your experience point pile and you can cancel the card. That's very handy. It saved us in a couple of really tight scenarios. For example, the one we were collecting the treasure, there was an encounter card came up that said hero's got to discard treasure. We're like, we can't do that, so we had to spend XP. The other thing experience points are for is, of course, leveling up. And how leveling up works in this game is if a hero at any time rolls a natural 20, either to attack or disarm a trap, he can choose to spend 5 experience points from the communal pool to level his hero up. You flip your card over to side 2, and it tells you what to do. You get more hit points, you get new power, things like that usually. I think your AC goes up, depending on the hero.
Yeah.
So that's all killing monsters and experience points do. And to lose the game ends either one of 2 ways. Either you win the scenario by completing the scenario objectives. As a group, you win, yay.
Yeah.
Or you lose because you ran out of healing surges. So both healing surges are down. Someone drops to 0 again. They need to heal.
Yeah.
It's dead.
Just one person dies, it's over.
Interesting note. This check you're at 0 doesn't happen to the beginning of your turn. So if you drop during your turn, right, you've got a whole turn for a cleric or somebody to heal you before you need to reach for that healing surge, right? So we had that happen a couple times. We had one guy, he got a healing potion as a treasure on him, healed the one hero up, or the cleric has a thing where he can attack and heal a point of damage when he hits somebody, things like that. So we saved ourselves some surges a couple times by pulling that trick off. And another thing about the game I really like is there's a great deal of scenario variety. There is 13 different scenarios, and if you only play the first 1 or 2 a couple times, you might get a certain feeling about the game. But if you go through and look at the different ones, they really range in both theme and value. One of my favorite scenarios so far is one where you have a little token to escort a guy. And he's a human who's been infected by the vampire, and he's starting to turn evil. And you have to escort him to the fountain somewhere in the dungeon and get him to drink from the fountain to become good. But if at any point a monster gets on his tile, or if you leave him alone, he turns into a vampire, a young vampire stat. You got to fight him and get on him for a turn and get all the monsters off his tile to turn him back into a human and then keep escorting him.
Yeah.
And if he dies, you lose. So you got to get him all the way to the thing. And then when you get him into the room, you got to force him to drink from the well by spending action points on him. And it takes you 5 turns. And we ended up having this room where 3 heroes were in there trying to drink from the well. We had the fighter and the cleric defending the door against like 6 monsters, because when that happens, monsters just keep spawning all around. You keep rushing in at you. It was really kind of a cool scene. So it's really a lot of fun. It's really a lot of variety. There's another scenario where you kind of lay all the tiles out on the table to begin with and slowly flip them over. There's a big 2-part grand finale. We actually fight Strahd in his castle. So there's a lot going on there.
That? You just read that ahead.
No, I'm only up to scenario 5. I think we've only.
So when your 5 games have been in order, okay?
Yes, we're playing in order.
I wasn't sure if you jumped around.
No, we haven't really popped around much. So that's really the whole thing. Mm-hmm. That's the whole enchilada,
kit and caboodle,
right? So before we get into rating this thing, and our final thoughts here, Craig, in the style of a Vlad,
or Strahd,
Strahd, or any vampire of your choice, you can choose. You can either go sparkly here, or you can go Anne Rice, or anywhere in the middle. You pick. You choose.
I'm gonna have to side
True
with
Blood,
TFG on this one and say that vampires do not sparkle.
Hey, you might get sued.
Yeah, you don't want to. You don't want to mess with what was that? Was that Trident Paramount? Anyway,
they made her take her thing down. It was kind of funny.
I know.
So anyway, I'm sure Total Fangirl's going to do a segment on that. She goes into that. So anyway, Craig, in the style of Vampire, describe the D6 generation rating system.
Well, if you're going to be rating a game, there's really only one way to do it. You want to rate a game much like you would rate a fine aged blood. That you've used thinners on, so it can age without getting all gross and hard and crusty. You are going to rate it on, you're talking about games, and gamers like dice, and so why don't we tie it to a die? A die roll, if you will. So you're going to say your average gamer would roll a die. And if this die comes up as a number that we will assign the game, then they will like it. So, for instance, if you say 50% of the gamers would like this game, you'd say 4+. If you think more gamers would like it, you're going to say 2+. If you think many, many gamers, almost all, far more than the all but 18% indicated by a 2+, you would say 2+ with a reroll. And you, mathematicians out in the audience, shut up or I will suck your blood. And that is what I would say about that.
Well done, Strahd.
Yes, very done, Strahd.
So I'll go first. How's that sound?
You go right ahead.
You go first.
Well, here's my thoughts on the game. I really like how it gives you a nice little taste of D&D 4. I'm one of the guys that likes D&D 4.
Yes.
I think most people probably feel like D&D 4 is a board game, so maybe there's something going on here. But I do like it. I like how you have your daily powers. The characters feel right. The artwork on the cards is fun. It does feel like I'm looking at a page of the player's handbook when I look at the card. I like that part. I really like how quick and easy it is to teach and set up. It's a game where you can just grab anybody off the street almost, and if they're not intimidated by the fact it's a dungeon crawling game, they'll like it. I think that's great. I think the levels and the scenarios are very, very different. I cannot wait for the first expansion, I think, which is a standalone game as well that's going to interlock with this one, but it's totally different theme. So instead of fighting a vampire, you're going to be fighting a giant dragon. But it's going to give you 5 new heroes. You're going to lock it all together. I think that the way it's obviously very, very expandable, which is great. And I think I like how the dungeons grow organically. We had a couple times we had a really hard time with a scenario where we had to collect the treasure. And one time we played it, the beginning was just totally hard and very, very different because of how the rooms came up, how the monsters spawned.
Yeah.
So even though it's the same scenario, it's different every time. The powers you pick for your heroes, I found sometimes like I didn't take the right power. I feel like I'm not comboing the right way, and so you can really feel like I don't know if there's a ideal set of powers depending on how you play, but I'm finding there's certain things you want to do and certain things you don't want to do.
Right.
And I love how the scenarios get harder and it feels like you're going deeper and deeper into the castle. I think there's not a huge amount of fluff in there, but there's enough in there to make you feel like there's some kind of story going on.
Right.
And it's fast. It actually plays quickly.
Fast.
The biggest problem that I have with classic Descent, which sort of really hits all the things you really want in a dungeon crawling game, is that you play the pre-set up scenario and it takes you a long time, like a day, to play. Where this one, I can break this thing out, play a game, play something else, play 2 games, it's nice and fast. So I like that part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give it. Let's see. I think. Well, it's getting mixed reviews, so I have to be careful here. I think I'm going to give it a 3+ for the average gamer.
Okay. And your modifiers, sir?
I will give it a -1 if you don't like D&D 4E.
Just a -1?
Yeah, only -1.
Really?
Well, I think 50-50 people, I think you can like it even no matter what. But if you don't like D&D 4...
I get confused with your -1 versus +1. So -1 means 2
to the roll,
or -1 means 4
to your
to the roll.
To your die roll.
Right.
So if you roll a 3+, you didn't make it because you got -1.
Your die became a 2, and that's not what you need to make it, right. And I will give it a...
But 2+ is a better rating.
No.
Right, but not a better roll.
Right.
I know. That's what gets me confused.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. You probably just confused about 1,500 people right there.
So here's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
The average gamer, if you roll a 3 or better on a die, you will like this game. If you don't like D&D 4, and you roll a die, you subtract 1 from it before you can compare to see if you made a 3.
You need to roll a 4 or better.
You need to roll a 4 or better. If you are a D&D 4 lover, D&D 4E, you like D&D 4E and would like to have a little board game you quickly play with your friends, and you like the Ravenloft theme
scenario,
I will give it a +1, which makes it a 2+.
Oh, very nice.
So that's what I'm going to say.
All righty. Rafe, you want to go or shall I?
Yeah, I think I should go.
Okay.
Because, yeah. I'm going to give it the same rating, which is a 3+.
Yep.
And, no, I'm going to give it a 3+ with a reroll.
Wow.
However, people need to realize that my son Lou is right at the age of a dungeon crawl game, and Descent was too big, which I had to dumb down.
This is probably the game you've been waiting for about 6 months.
Like, this is the game I was waiting for.
It's a great family game. Yeah.
It's that exciting thing when in your head you're like, I just want a game where I could go through with Lou, but I'm not against him. And the components are as cool as Descent. And oh my God, they made Ravenloft. And it's like one of those moments. It's almost that moment like when you find something you've been looking for, in the comic store.
Gotcha.
So I am going to not steal Craig's thunder. However, some of the detractors that I've heard is they're like, well,
wait, can I make a request? If you don't actually feel them as detractors, can you leave them to me?
I do feel them as detractors.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, then you exercise your First Amendment.
Thank you. I want to make people aware that I am buying into the hype a little bit. So part of my 3+ with a reroll is, as the game stands today, might be a 4+. But where I think it's going to go, I'm giving it the 3+. So I think it is infinitely expandable.
So that's an interesting parallel between your rating and Russ's rating was that comment about its expandability.
Well, we know what's in the first expansion.
Right.
They've announced the
No, I know, but that's it's key that I think that was mentioned in both of your ratings.
And what I mean by expandability is not just more dungeon tiles. I mean, can the characters get to 3rd level? Like right now, I think the treasure cards are weak sauce. They're not exciting at all. It's definitely not as cool as Descent, and you don't feel as cool about building your character. They're sort of generic.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. That's my rating.
Alrighty.
Oh wait, I have to say one more thing. Sorry, Craig. I played using my built-up Descent Hearst art molds.
Oh, and did it work? Because I thought it would work
so easily.
Yeah. Nice.
It was easier than I thought.
Yeah.
So all you do is you take your stack.
Yeah.
Whatever your stack is, you just flip the stack, and then you reach into your box of Hearst art molds, and you put that down.
I was wondering about
regarding the triangles, you just put a little marker. Like I used hit point markers. So if it was black, I flipped it over and it was black, and that reminded me if it was a black triangle or a white triangle.
Gotcha.
And I used the little coin piles, which if you just repainted them would look just like bone piles. It worked in a snap. It was no problem.
Little circular bones.
Yeah, little circular bones.
Yeah, okay.
Bone chips, if you will.
That's true. I actually had thought about that too. So, Rafe, great minds think alike.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, I should say, you made me think of something though too, Rafe, is that I've heard people bust on Descent, and I'm a huge Descent fanboy, saying they don't like the fact that you can go from like 0 to hero in one dungeon. Yeah. So if you don't like that about Descent, that's a pro here in Ravenloft, where your hero is more flat. But if you did like that about Descent, then you won't like that in Ravenloft. So that's a good point.
Right. Exactly.
Alrighty.
Yep.
My turn now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to love this game to the point where I had already budgeted in buying it before it came out.
Well, we all bought one, so you don't need one because everybody's got a copy.
Well, no, because I was going to say, because your brother complains a lot about Descent.
Right. He'll like this one.
And I thought, wow, this might be the game that'll, keep everybody coming and it'll be great. And I did not buy it. Although I did have fun when I played, and I like the functionality of all the pieces, like I said. I think it's a very well-designed game. I like the exploration. I like that Betrayal at House on the Hill feel where it's going to be different every time. But the very first thing I noticed before I even played was what I mentioned, the dull artwork, that I really thought it lacked something. And I like it lacks a pop when you look at it. Another thing, once I started playing, I don't need that. So, there's that what you were saying about the abstract nature of the whole thing. That really started to throw me. Where I move squares, but the monsters move tiles, and you're shooting tiles, and it really, the switching back and forth kind of made me feel like the gaming space I was in was sort of amorphous and abstract more so than I would have liked. And like you said, there's a lot of puzzle solving stuff, and it does come down often to who's going to go next and who's going to go in which order and which monsters are going to go. So it's more of a puzzle solving issue rather than a dungeon crawl. To me, it felt less like dungeon crawling.
It's like Pandemic that way. It's a puzzle.
It's more like puzzle solving. That being said, I thought the gameplay was good, and I did enjoy it. But I feel like it's right now very limited in what you're going to get. I mean, and for the price, it's great. So I'm not saying it's a bad deal or anything.
Right.
But with only 3 types of each monster, which actually is more than enough in the scenarios you've got, because you'd be overwhelmed because of the mechanics. But coming from Descent, where you're like, oh yeah, I've got 8 of those, that's great.
Right.
Here you've got 3. There's 3 skeletons, and that's what you're going to get. In the game, it's not a bad thing because you don't want more than 3 because of the way the game works. But it felt limiting when I was looking through the stuff before we played. And then only 13 scenarios. You're absolutely correct to say that they're all very, very different, awesome game experiences and a lot of fun. But to me, I was like, oh, like you're putting out $65 and it's basically 13 plays. Now you're going to play them more than once, probably,
Right.
especially if you fail them. But I felt like the box itself was limiting.
Well, don't forget, in the original Descent, $100 you get 10 scenarios, and they don't change every time.
You're absolutely
So, just to make sure.
you're absolutely correct. And I never jumped in at that end of
No, you're
Descent
right.
either.
Right,
So I don't. I like that's I'm saying that's a very valid point that I didn't experience that should be stated. I feel like the only big problem I had, and Dave had this huge problem. I don't know if he'd say it was huge, but how smart or aggressive do you get with the monsters is not. It's left up to the players.
Right.
And I feel like you're going to have a very different experience playing with different types of friends. So like your monster could be like, oh, he moves 1 adjacent and he attacks 1 guy. So we were like trying to randomize as much as we could, but there's still a lot of leeway there. Like, does he go over here so he's actually going to block your exit to this room? Or so it's. Yeah. I think there's a lot of leeway there, which there has to be. It's again not a flaw in the game.
I thought about that too, and we've been playing to maximize the player's advantage.
Okay.
So screwing the monsters as much as we can.
Yeah.
Because just to make it clear, when the monster's tactic says moves to the nearest hero and becomes adjacent to him, you can pick where he's going to be.
Right.
So when you're picking where he's going to go, if it's a Wraith, for example, and the hero's on the edge of a tile, if you put him on one tile and he dies, he won't hurt any heroes. So you put him where the best spot for him is.
Yeah.
What it turns out in later scenarios, if you don't do that, you will lose. It gets that hard.
It gets hard.
So I think what happens is in the beginning, you're like, this is too easy. We better give the monster some advantages. But if you go to the later scenarios, it's like, oh dear God, if we don't play that way, we're dead.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Right, and
I think they turn people off. They don't like that
I mean,
sort of abstract.
And it sounds like that's the way it's supposed to be, and you've got to learn by experience. But you may not gain that experience if you don't like it at the beginning.
Right.
And then my ultimate feeling for this game really is that it's more of an investment in the future than a game. Like basically, what you guys are saying, you're looking to the future already. And that's exactly when I was playing it. I was like, well, you've only got 5 characters. Right. You don't have, 20 is outrageous. Speaking as a guy who painted all the characters from Descent that you're never, ever, ever going to use, 20 is excessive, but 5 seems to be like, oh, you've got the bare basics. So then you look forward, oh, well, the next game's going to have 5 different ones. And you're personalizing them with the different powers that you choose. So it's not as limiting as it sounds when you say there's only 5.
Well, we should be clear, too, that a hero in Ravenloft is more fleshed out than a hero in Descent, right? A hero in Descent has 1 special ability and gets this number of cards from each deck. That's all a hero is, right? In Ravenloft, the hero he's got his own set of stats, he's got his own deck of powers that are unique to him, he's got his own, so there's a lot more depth to your hero and more power, you know what I mean? Like it's a more fleshed out creature, more like a D&D character.
Yeah.
They're just saying it's more work, more expensive to have if you had 20 heroes, you'd have 20 different decks of cards, it'd be a lot.
That's true. That's true. What I would have liked to see though is I would have liked to see all that stuff, but genericized, so that it's the Ranger, and you could use a different model if you wanted, and and it's not keyed to the name.
Yeah, but see in the future when you have 5 new heroes, that's what's going to be cool. Now you're going to have 10 heroes with their own unique decks and all their different powers.
I would say
and the paladin's different than the fighter. It's going to be awesome.
No, I'm saying, see, now did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? It's going to be awesome.
Well, I agree with you, but Descent. If you look at Descent's track, though, to be fair, Descent was much better today than it was when it came out.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
But Craig doesn't necessarily have to weigh it with comparing it and
I'm with you.
ratcheting it up.
Right. I'm saying I jumped into it thinking Descent's awesome and this is going to be and it didn't do that for me. Right now you've got the 13 missions and then that's pretty there. I think there's 2 new ones on the Wizards of the Coast website and there's some stuff that's being churned out at Board Game Geek.
Right.
So there will be more, and the expansion, as you said, isn't even so much an expansion as a parallel game that can then be tied in, and all the stuff crosses over. And I think what you're going to end up with is a Descent level as far as the richness of the experience.
Pure co-op, though. Which is
with pure co-op. And as a totally different experience, but it's going to be that rich and that fully fleshed out, but it's not that right now. So to me, this is like getting on the ground floor, of Castle Ravenloft or whatever they're going to call the whole system when they put it all together. And so because of that, as a standalone game, I would say I'm going to give it a 4+.
Okay.
Because I was like, okay, I like it, but I'm not going to buy it.
Which matches my, if you don't like D&D 4, -1.
Exactly. Yeah, because I don't like D&D 4. Well, there you go. And so that's my rating.
There you go, 4+.
4+.
All right, is that Ravenloft?
That's Ravenloft.
This edition of Jever Notice is brought to you by Alan Stucker, who shouts out to his daughters, Sam, Babs, Lauren, and Morgan. You are the best daughters and game group a father could ask for. Love you, girls. Did you ever notice how you go through some really cool event, but then soon after you forget a bunch of the details? Well, that's what's happening with me and my experiences at the Spartan Games in August. So I decided I had to write them down, but then I was thinking, what am I going to do my next Jever Notice about? And then I thought, it's been a while since I've done anything dramatic, and then I thought, 3 birds with 1 stone?
The 3 stood, silent and expectant. It had been a month's journey to arrive, each striving alone to prepare for their challenge. Before the men rose a steep hill, slick with mud and blasted by twin cones of freezing sleet shot from giant cannon. Rivulets of gelid mud ran down to where the friends stood, and over the hill billows of smoke rose lazily into the clear blue summer sky. The friends stood amidst 200 men and women, ready to test themselves against the Spartan race. A local king in battle dress regaled them with inspirational speeches and exhortations to glory. The sea of humanity surged forward, issuing at the king's urging a deafening challenge to the hill. Hurroo! 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 And then a horn sounded, and they surged ahead. The 3 friends had made a pact. No matter what chanced, they would finish the race together. From the outset, Craig and John took the lead, with Joseph keeping station just behind. The hill was steep, the spray from the cannons icy and stinging, and the footing treacherous, but they forged their way yard by brutal yard up the slope. They breasted the hill together, lungs burning and breath coming in deep draughts. Suddenly they caught the smell of the fire pit, cruelly placed at the top of the challenging slope. The fire's smoke was a barrier through which no one could hope to breathe as they leapt the flames. Men had fallen to either side, retching up the smoke in their own exhaustion. Trying in vain to take in a deeper breath, John and Craig rushed through the smoke and jumped the flames with Joseph close behind. The smoke was thick and suffocating, and for a moment the clear sky of midday was obscured, but then they burst through the vista of a tangled valley opening beneath them. Moving swiftly down an eroded and dusty pathway, the runners flowed into the valley down a narrow trail. To either side grew low, desiccated trees that reached out to slash and grab as they ran. The trail was hard and irregular, following the folded contours of the valley up and down, zigzagging and back and forth, the only constant the bloodthirsty branches. More runners were passed on either side, some retching, others bent double, desperate to suck air into tortured lungs. The 3 friends maintained their running pace through the valley. Soon they saw a dark forest rising before them, the trail disappearing beneath the trees. The forest was too thick for them to see very deeply in, and soon the path curved and a massive cargo net blocked their way, flanked on either side by fearsome, screaming Marines. Craig and John rushed the net. Both flipped smoothly and jumped down to the other side. Craig reached back to recover his fallen helm, but John, already disgruntled for having been forced to wear the headgear, left his where it fell. Behind them, Joseph fairly flew over the obstacle, never losing his helm, and the 3 rushed down the trail. The trail soon disappeared as a broad stretch of wetland lay across the forest. On the far side, the trail continued past the murky swamp. John took the lead, skirting the swampland and trying to avoid the deepest mud. Many runners passed them, sprinting into the center, several losing shoes, stopping with scalding oaths to recover their lost footwear. Suddenly, tiring of the careful path, John shouted, "I'm going up!" and took off down the center of the mire. Craig nodded and followed, but no sooner had Craig's foot hit the deep, sucking slime as a frightened cry of "Hornets!" erupted behind him, and a painful, stinging impact struck him in the small of the back. The runners all around began to panic, and a stampede formed as men and women tried to escape the cloud of angry insects. In the confusion, Craig lost his balance and felt a shoe slide off his foot. He swirled, reaching back toward the dark and gaping hole that had swallowed his sneaker. Just as he felt the shoe, his grasp and another angry insect alighted on his hand, and another wave of pain rushed through him. With a vociferous string of curses, he grabbed the shoe and continued running awkwardly with one bare foot, struggling to reach the edge of the swamp. Once he had achieved dry land, Craig struggled to put the shoe back on, being buffeted on all sides by runners still fleeing the infested swamp. Craig looked around, but could see no sign of Joe or John. Could he have truly been left behind by his two closest friends, abandoned in his moment of greatest need? With frustration and annoyance, Craig made to start running again, only to run headlong into the broad, tall back of a runner who had suddenly stopped short. Looking up, Craig saw the unmistakable gleam of a golden helm and realized that Joe, at least, was still with him. But Joe was no longer running. Gasping for breath, his eyes drooping, Joe moved at a slow walk. Remembering his oath, Craig did not leave his friend, but pushed him to move faster in an attempt to stem the tide of runners streaking past. And so the bulk of the race through the forest stretched by. Craig paced beside Joe, who refused to move faster than a slow, painful walk. Of John, there was no sign. The path traced its serpentine way beneath the trees, up and down, hills and gullies. Another obstacle, a blasted area of ground where every tree had been leveled by a recent storm, saw Joe pick up his pace as they blazed a trail through the devastation, over and under the fallen sentinels of the forest. On the other side of the wood, the trail rose to climb a steep hill, easily the equal of the first in the race. The hill was scattered with defeated runners, gasping for breath or losing their last meals, as Joe and Craig plodded upward with the help of the trees and saplings on either side of the trail. At the top of the hill, sucking in huge lungs full of air that never seemed to ease the tight burning in their chests, the two friends paused to survey a wide, clear field of wheat, across which the race's trail seemed to wend back and forth, an anvil under the hammer of the blazing summer sun. Loath to leave the shade of the forest, again Craig had to coax Joe into a run towards the next obstacle, a timber barricade rising out of the field in the distance. Joe, shaking his head in resignation, jogged morosely towards this collection of timber and rope. "Come on, you helmet heads!" yelled a Marine manning the next barricade. With that exhortation, Craig surged ahead and jumped onto a cargo net. At the top, his arms almost failed him and he faltered, but he recovered and jumped down to where Joe was waiting for him, and together they climbed the next obstacle in a daze and moved quickly back into the shadow of the forest. Again the forest trail flowed up and down the folds of the terrain into a deep ravine, looping back and forth over the plateau. Rounding a corner out onto the field, the two friends were confronted with a massive, featureless black wall. "Welcome to the 8-foot wall, ladies," cried an attending Marine. Craig ran right at the wall and jumped, grasping at the top with his fingertips. He hit with a reverberant thud, clung for a moment, and then dropped back to the earth. One of the Marines shouted, "Do a cartwheel and hit the girls' wall." Craig noticed that one section of the wall had boards nailed to it, forming a hasty ladder. He did his cartwheel and scrambled over the wall, shouting encouragement to Joe, but there was no cartwheel for Joe. Instead, with sheer grit and bloody-minded determination, he threw himself at the wall, and then, with face turning purple and veins standing out on his arms, he hauled himself up and over. As they moved out on the other side, they could just make out the form of more low walls in the distance, a blue top stretched before them on the ground. Craig got Joe to run for another few 100 yards. Soon, however, they found themselves slogging through long, thorned briars, their flesh being flensed from their bones. Bulling through the violent underbrush, they saw that a top had been strung a mere 2 feet above ruts in the track, both of which were filled with warm and turgid mud. Sweeping their helms from their heads, Craig and Joe rushed forward, splashing into the tepid mire. Squirming through the slime, they erupted out the other side, helms bedraggled but still in place. The walls on the other side, parallel with the race trail, were 30 feet long climbing walls that had to be traversed before a runner could continue. Craig fell within feet of his first attempt, dropping to bang out 25 push-ups as a penalty. Joe, however, began the climb across the wall, the same look in his eye that had carried him over the 8-foot wall. Craig fell again from the wall, dropped for another 25 push-ups, while Joe finished his climb and they were told to continue. Craig tried to push Joe one more time at a run, but this time Joe's face was desperate with exhaustion. His eyes drooped, his body shook. There was simply no more energy to be had. So Craig jogged beside his friend, and together they paced across the field towards a line of trees behind which sat the dreaded starting hill. On the other side of the trees was the razor wire, twin paths wending their way through mud and filth beneath the curling barbed traps. A woman, her shirt hopelessly caught in the wire, was sobbing, her body held just high enough over the mud to rob her of any hope of traction. She begged a cold-faced Marine to help her, but was only told that her shirt was ripping and she'd free herself soon. With the efficacy of the razor wire before their very eyes, Craig once again dove into the mud and began a fast low crawl through the lukewarm mess, with Joe right on his heels. On the other side of the wire, with the finish line now in sight at the bottom of the hill, Craig shouted, "I'm going!" back to Joe, and began to slide down the hill as fast as he could. He stopped midway down and with a single cast of a javelin avoided a penalty of 50 step-ups on a massive tractor wheel by driving the spear into his target's chest. At the bottom of the hill, Craig scaled a slick wooden wall with a knotted rope, despite the liquid soap being sprayed liberally on the surface by a pair of savagely grinning Marines. Dropping down on the other side of the scaling wall, Craig began to jog towards the finish line, coming to a stop when he saw that there was a 10-foot drop before he could go further, and that 3 muscular men in the uniforms of seasoned gladiators stood between him and his goal. Craig leapt down the cliff and rushed at the first unarmed gladiator. He lunged to the side, but then spun on one exhausted leg and ducked behind the lunging warrior. The next was waiting for him with Pugel's stick held confidently. Craig tried to dodge past this next warrior, but was struck in the back as he ran. The final laugh was with Craig, however, as the momentum imparted to him from this blow actually carried him past the final armed gladiator, and the wind of his Pugel's passing whistled over Craig's shaven head. Sprinting the last 100 feet, Craig stumbled across the finish line, accepting his medal without even noticing who handed it to him, and staggered to the water table. He had finished the race. Unfortunately, because he had shaved his head that day for the race, and grown a beard that week, Karen, his wife, had mistakenly taken an excellent series of photos of John, who has sported a shaven head and a goatee since time immemorial instead. But already these friends, and many more besides, were planning to return in a year's time, to face that hill, and to run those trails, and to best the Spartan race.
Well, that's about all I've got time for this time. Thanks for listening, and good night.
Achievement unlocked! You've made it to the end of another D6 Generation episode, the podcast whose humor has universally been acclaimed as not too horrible. Please let us know what you thought of the show by either emailing us at info@d6generation.com or by posting in our official D6G episode thread at the top of the DACA discussions forum on DACA.com. If for some inexplicable reason you actually enjoyed this show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming.
The theme from Total Fangirl comes from the soundtrack of The Last Night on Earth, the zombie game, courtesy of Flying Frog Productions, and is a composition of Mary Beth Magalanes.
Earlier this episode, Total Fangirl mentioned a new Geek Girls video featuring Seth Green and the members of Team Unicorn. We thought you'd enjoy listening to the audio here, but don't miss their awesome video. For all the details, check out facebook.com/Team Unicorn FTW. Team Unicorn for the win.
Hello, friends. Don't you want to meet a nice girl?
I know a place where the gamers' goals are so extreme. Dune, D&D, where Randall Thor still reigns supreme. Questing in Hyrule, dominating Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
7, those boys losing sleep, trying to keep up with our lead speed.
What up, noob?
Noob sauce, be a part of our world. In latex and bows, 'cause these girls play close. Set up razors to stone, you'll be falling in love. Geek and gamer girls were unbelievable. Comic books and manga in stock. Hasbro toys so rare, we got them mail away. Geek and gamer girls were undefeatable. FPS achievement unlocked. Jedi's represent, now put your sabers up. We love Stan Lee and just created all our favorite shows. We frag in our sleep. We will own your ass in Halo. Be a part of our world. In latex and bows, 'cause these girls play close. Set up razors to stone, you'll be falling in love. Geek and gamer girls were unbelievable. We all know that Han shot first. Animate no ducks, we want originals. Geek and gamer girls were undefeatable. RPG achievement unlocked. Brown coats represent, we aim to misbehave.
Farscape, Sailor Moon, Hogwarts boys all make them swoon. Aragorn, Legolas, these are the boys they love the best. I mean, they're good to go. Love sci-fi, yo. Marvel, DC, Vertigo. The girls are sweet, they can't be beat. Super fine like Peach, Darth Maul, standing tall. He's so bad, so say we all. Epic loots for the win. Hydro's what we're raiding in. Hacksaws, Konami code, Doctor Who, expert mode. Game genies, wild fiends, sick meanies, no weenies. Don't forget they the queenies. Gamer ladies, raiding tonight, baby. I'm all up on you, 'cause you represent geeks and gamers.
Geek and gamer girls were unbelievable. Comic books and manga in stock. Hasbro toys so rare, we got them mail away. Geek and gamer girls were undefeatable. MMO achievement unlocked. Trackers represent.
Red shirts, red shirts. Geek and gamer girls, man. I really wish they all could be